I say! Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is!
Yes, good afternoon. Savva here from Football Heritage TV. In the space it took for me to start this video to going live, we have had the Here We Go from Fabrizio Romano. I'm sorry I'm not more excited by this. Sorry, I'm just not. I just can't get excited about it. He's okay. It's all right. I'm not excited in any way, shape or form. I think he'll do okay. I think he'll grab you 7 or 8 goals. He'll be quick. I'm just not excited. Sorry for anyone that wanted some, wait, look, we've signed him and he's brilliant. For me, this is just another Spursy type signing. Let's have a look at it, shall we? Here we go. So Fabrizio Romano has said this. Let's have a look. He has said, Brennan Johnson to Tottenham. Here we go. Agreement reached right now with Nottingham Forest on deal in excess of 40 million with add-ons included. Total package up to 45 million. Brennan on his way to medical tests at Spurs training ground right now. A priority target signed. That's where I stop believing. That's where I think it starts being nonsense. A priority target that we've waited until the last day of the window to try and sign. Yeah, something does not seem quite right to me there. Let me know, people, what you think. Brennan Johnson has joined Tottenham. Where does he play? What does this mean for Richarlison? Does he go through the middle? Does it mean that Sonny goes through the middle and Kulu and Johnson take the wings? Does Kulu sit on the bench? Does Johnson play right? What do we think right now? Who's excited? I tell you what, should we get a poll going? Let's ask a poll. Start a poll. Are you excited about Brennan Johnson? If you are you excited about the signing of Johnson? Sorry, I know people will call me negative. I feel like we watch these signings all the time. And I just kind of feel like this is what we do. I'll put a poll in the chat. Let's see. I'm sure a lot of people will be excited. I just can't really get to grips with it. PB and J, yeah, listen, PB and Jammer said he's neutral about it. Wow, Kudos said he's more excited about his nan's funeral. Excited isn't the word, but I'm hopeful. 45 million for an average guy. Yeah, I don't think I'm negative. I think I'm a realist as well. I feel like it's very underwhelming. In the same day that Man United have managed to go and get a player like Sofian Amrabat on loan, and we're buying players like Brennan Johnson for 45 million pounds. Listen, I really hope he does well. The same for any Tottenham player. I really do hope he does well. But I just don't think he's that good. I don't know. Like, technically, is he good? I see him running at people a lot, but is he technically good? We'll find out. So far, hang on, let's have a look at this. So far, I've had 128 votes and only 30% have said they're excited. Let that sink in. I think this is where the club are at the moment. In terms of, this is the sort of signing that we moved stadium for. Just putting it out there before anyone has a go at me. I'm just putting it out there. Is this why we ripped up White Hart Lane and moved to this new stadium? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure why we moved stadium. We may as well have stayed at White Hart Lane. Big up to Ben Hart, who's become a YouTube channel member. Big up to you, Ben. Much love. Thank you for that. As always, channel member only shows and channel member only conversations. So big up to you. And listen, I look forward to having you as part of the community. Thank you so much to Ben Hart. Everybody else, you know the rules. Let's smash that like button. We are going to be live until 5 p.m. So we've got 3 hours for some incoming, some outgoings. We'll keep you up to date with everything across hang on, live. Hang on 1 second. I'm just going to see if I can get a Forest fan on live until 5. If anyone wants to join, here we go. Let's have a look at this. Right. Okay. I just feel like we make this signing all the time. Not Brennan Johnson, but this type of player. There are fans now going, what a wonderful deal. They wanted 50. We got less. Daniel Levy strikes again. And it just makes me feel a little bit sick in my mouth. But hey, it is what it is. What do we do moving forward, guys and girls? What do we do? What's the signings now? Is that it? I think that could be it. I think it could be it. Tottenham 1963 has said Tottenham today won't end well for Tottenham. Same old SHIT. David says we got Johnson in. Way brilliant. Smash the likes. Strasbourg Steve, I'll get you on in a bit if you fancy joining for a little bit, my friend. Big Boss Man has said, interesting note, Savva from Fab's tweet. He says Johnson a priority signing. Is Romano, Ali Gold and Paul O'Keefe lying about this? I don't think they're lying, but maybe he's the priority signing now that we haven't got anyone else in all summer in that position. But how can this be our priority signing and we signed him on the last day of the window? That's not a priority signing, is it? Yeah, so it is what it is. Uncle Disraelia said, I'm Lloyd Kelly and so's my wife. I don't know what that means, but big up to you. Kia Hor Pam, big up to you as well, my friend. Hope you're well all the way out there in Houston, Texas. Yeah, that did work, didn't it? Here we go, just as the show starts. Let me know. Let's see. People give me the positives. So far, 193 votes and 33% are saying that they're excited, which means that 67% of people are saying no. Let that sink in. Big up as well to Blaine Dev. Blaine Dev has given away 5 channel memberships. Big up, Blaine Dev. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you so much for doing that. Let me know if Blaine Dev gave you a membership and then we can all thank him together. So big up to Blaine Dev. It doesn't actually come up on the screen. But it is what it is. Paul has said Johnson can cover all 3 positions. Gallagher can cover 6 and 8. Kelly can cover centre and all homegrown. Yeah, not for me, Paul. No, not for me. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We're sorry, mate. No offence. We're sitting there talking like we're Crystal Palace making signings. This isn't Tottenham. This isn't what a big club does. This isn't why we moved to a stadium to get record revenues with it, was it? I'm just a bit I'm a bit confused as to what was the need for it. I don't understand. Big up, and we've bought. Here we go. Oh, Jesus Christ. Man City in the house. LB from formerly known as City Extra, now going out by himself like a legend.
Yeah, all good, man. I seen your message then, so I thought I got 10, 15 minutes to spare, so why not come on and chat? I guess it's transfers that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you know, today's transfer deadline day. And I know that doesn't really mean anything for you Man City fans that see top players coming into your club on a yearly basis. For the rest of us, we get excited about nothing. LB, look, one place to start. Literally couldn't have timed it better. As the show started, Romano gave the here we go for Brennan Johnson to Tottenham. I'll be honest, LB, you know my thoughts. I'm massively underwhelmed by this. I think it's another squad player. I feel like we've moved stadiums to try and compete, and then we're still buying players like we're Crystal Palace. What do you make of Brennan Johnson to Tottenham Hotspur?
Well, funny enough, if we just go back a couple of weeks, we had a conversation, didn't we? It was a good conversation about Kane and whether or not Kane should stay at Spurs. And
yeah.
I actually think that you're probably right that it was probably the best thing for Kane to move on because it just refreshes the club. You get to go. But the reason that I was reluctant for Spurs to let Harry Kane go is because I just didn't have any faith in the board or the people who make the decisions at Spurs to make the correct calls. And that was the reason. Listen, I think Brennan Johnson, he can play across the front line. He's a good player. is he the type of player that Spurs should be signing? This is what Spurs do. When will Spurs stop signing these players who City, Liverpool, United, Arsenal are now not really going for, well, not United and City, because City are the standard, right? When are Spurs going to stop signing these players and going for the players who are doing it here and now? I always feel that Spurs, they're trying to sign players and then who are decent and then try and make them into world-class players. Well, this is why it doesn't work, man. How long have Spurs been doing this? Spurs should have took that. This is what I said. Spurs should have took that 90 million and gone out and got 1 or 2 world-class players that properly improve that squad. Not saying Brennan Johnson isn't going to improve the team, but I completely understand why you're a little bit like, you know.
I just feel like, do you know what? Even forget that we've made £100 million there from Harry Kane, right? Let's be fair. Tottenham is we're not financially hard up, right? We've got cash, right? We're a very rich football club. And you're looking at it thinking, okay, all right, Harry Kane's gone. But you also look on the back of last year was a complete mess as a football club. Thinking, all right, let's get a couple of exciting players in. Let's get another striker in. And the deadline day marquee signing is a bloke who's had 1 year in the Premier League. He's quick. He got 8 goals. Listen, I'm not knocking that. I wouldn't, he's at Forest. I'm not expecting the guy on his debut season to get 25 goals, but it just feels completely underwhelming. And I keep using this analogy, LB. I keep saying, if I phoned you up, right, this morning, and there'd been no news about Brennan Johnson being linked to Tottenham, and I'd said to you, oh my God, LB, have you heard Crystal Palace have signed Brennan Johnson? You would have gone, oh, yeah, that's a Crystal Palace signing. Not Tottenham. I don't know. It just feels massively underwhelming to go from peak Sonny, peak Harry Kane to Brennan Johnson. Like, it just feels like...
This is what your club does, though, Savva. This is what your club does. And unfortunately, this is the reason it's not been successful. You know, you did it when you sold Bale. You went and bought 4 or 5 players, and 1 or 2 of them might have been decent. I just feel that, like, why don't you just go out there and just sign you've lost a world-class, arguably the best striker in the world, possibly second behind Ireland, yeah? But why don't you spend that money on a world-class player, you know? And don't tell me, we're not in the Champions League, we can't... Oh, look at Chelsea signing all these players. You know, you throw enough money at players. You're a London-based club. You know, you can get good players in. I don't know.
And yes, I have had a haircut since my stream this morning. Yes, I've had a haircut. Yes, it had to go. I've got a wedding to go to tomorrow. Look, I think for me, the difficulty is, I get it, right? Spurs can't sign world-class players. I get it, right? We're not in the Champions League. Those world-class players will go to the bigger clubs. But I'll keep going back to it, LB. I look at Diaby at Villa. Now, that's a signing that I would have gone, get me all over that. Right? Kudus at West Ham. Get me all over that. Brennan Johnson just feels a little bit like, it feels lazy. It feels really, really lazy to go and get Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest. Look, obviously this is going to dominate Spurs today, I think. I mean, look, if I can stay with Spurs for a minute before we go to some wider pieces of transfer news. Lots of talk that Fulham can't convince Hoiberg to join them. The news coming out was that Hoiberg believes he should be at one of the best clubs in the world starting, but he can't even get into our midfield. Doesn't that make sense for a player like Hoiberg? I mean, Fulham, he'll play week in, week out. He'd be their main man. Would you not see that as a good deal for him?
Well, yeah, but he obviously clearly has aspirations of playing Champions League football, right? And I think that he's been linked with Atletico Madrid all summer. That's never materialised. There was a few rumours taking him to Man United. That's obviously not materialised. So I understand Fulham coming in. He might just be a little bit, down on that. But listen, Fulham are a good club. Again, London-based.
Yeah, they've done well.
They've got a great manager. I really love Marco Silva as a manager. I think he's a great coach. Plays great football, and they had the best finish in the Premier League last year. But guy wants to play Champions League football, doesn't he? I think he just thinks he's one step ahead of Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was rumoured all summer to be going to Atletico Madrid. So I guess from that point of view, you're going Atletico Madrid, Fulham. But what's the option? You stay at Spurs and sorry, someone said my mic is off. My mic is off? No, you can hear me. Surely I would have known by now if my mic was off.
If your mic was off, and then I've been talking to someone else the whole time.
Yeah. Someone who sounds just like me. I guess if it was going from Atletico Madrid, then Fulham come in for you. But the option otherwise, LB, is Spurs are now out the cup after one game. Spurs could have... We'll get into that. Spurs could have, if we lose in the third round of the FA Cup, I'm not saying it will, but we could get City away, Arsenal away, whatever it may be. We could be in for a 40-game season. 40. Now, you would assume that if everyone's fit, Hoiberg's not ever getting in that 11 for Spurs. So is it better to stay at Spurs for a year, run that contract down, and try and move again next year, or go to Fulham and play week in, week out?
Well, that's probably what's going to be going through his head today before the transfer deadline day opens, because, on one hand, he might be like, I'll stay and I'm pretty sure I can move to a Champions League team next year on a free transfer, but then I'm not playing any football this year because, as you said, he's probably not going to play any minutes. He might play a few, but he's not going to be. He's clearly not in Ange's his plans, is he? So that's his personal choice. What does he want to do? If he wants to run his contract down, leave on a free transfer, then so be it. But I see it with Calvin Phillips. You see players now just sitting on benches. You're a footballer, man. Go out and play football. So listen, again, Fulham's a great club. But if he wants to play Champions League, then he's going to have to wait here unless someone comes in for him at the final moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Just some news. The news from the last hour from Fabrizio Romano is that João Cancelo is now going to sign his contract and be a Barcelona footballer. Sofian Amrabat, here we go. Agreement in place for Man United. Obviously, the Brennan Johnson news, the here we go. Brentford have reached a verbal agreement in the last 15 minutes with Neil Maupay of Everton. He's going to be going on loan with an option to buy. Neil Maupay going down to Brentford, which is an interesting one. And off the back of that, has anything else happened? No, that's it at the moment. Let's talk about Mo Salah. Mo Salah, they've had a bid this morning for £150 million. I get why they've knocked it back. You can sell Salah for 150 million, but with 9 hours of the transfer window to go, you're not replacing him. I don't know who in the world football right now goes to Liverpool that is as good as Mo Salah. Do you understand that, or would you have sold him?
I actually think it's a really, really difficult decision for Liverpool. And I don't think it's as easy as some people are making out because, listen, it's a top 5 this year gets Champions League. Make no mistake about it. Liverpool are not... I had some sort of belief that maybe Liverpool could get up there and potentially challenge for the league, but I don't think they can. Can they get top 5 with Salah? Yes. Can they get top 5 without Salah? Yes. So... The problem is, if they keep him, he's got 1 year left on his contract. They're going to have basically, and he's not. I don't think he's going to renew his deal. I think now he's looking at Saudi, just like Mahrez has done, whether it be now, next year, or at the end of his Liverpool contract. So does he wait for next season? Well, why keep in Salah? You're going to get less from him next year because he's only got 1 year left on his contract. I don't know. I think it's a really, really tricky one. If Liverpool accept 150 or 175, because I'm pretty sure the Saudis will come in with a higher bid later on. They've already got that £100 million that they bid for Caicedo. I know some of it's gone on Gravenberg. And then you're getting another 150. They could do a lot with that. They could do a lot with that next summer. So, but you're losing, like you say, you're losing the goals, you're losing the assists, you're losing the consistency. Let me tell you, this is the problem that they've got, right? Even now, without a proper recognised number 6, with Salah in the team, if we go to Anfield or they come to the Etihad, I'm worried because Salah is that good. If they take Salah out of that team, I'm thinking to myself, they've got some good players. Of course they do. They've got Diaz, Nunez, but Salah is the one in that team. He is world class. We often say, this player's world class, this player's world class. Most of the time we say that we're chatting shit. They're not actually
of course.
Salah is world class. His numbers are frankly ridiculous. And I think Liverpool are in a very, very awkward situation. And one of the things that makes it more difficult, Savva, is that they've not got a recognised 6. You speak to Errol, we speak to Errol almost on a daily basis, and Liverpool fans are not that happy in their transfer window, because they've not got a 6. If you go and sell your best player, one of the best players that's ever played for your football club, I just think the morale could be a bit low, you know. So listen, I wouldn't want to make the call. I would not want to make that call.
I just think transfer deadline day. I mean, let's be fair. Liverpool could get that deal done. Who are they ringing up? I mean, honestly, right now, LB, in world football, let's assume they said yes. Who are you ringing up right now to go, right, we need a player? And clubs are going to go, well, hang on, we've got 8-9 hours to go. How are we going to replace our guy?
I don't, Savva. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I do? I say, listen, we're in a unique situation in which this new power of Saudi Arabia is coming with this cash, and we're not going to rush with 9 hours to go and fuck it up. We're going to wait, do our scouting properly, and then go again. Probably not even in January, in the summer. Because, like I say, what's the target for Liverpool this year? It's to get in the top 4, get back into the Champions League. Yeah, they'd like to win a domestic cup, the Europa League, but they want to get back into that Champions League. So I wouldn't even risk it. The one thing that they've now got to decide, though, is if they refuse to sell him in the next 9 hours, they have to be absolutely sure that they're not going to sell him in the next week because, of course, the Saudi Arabia transfer window is still open.
Yeah, it goes on for another week. Yeah.
So what you have to say now, Savvy, if you're in that boardroom and you're all going, no, we're not selling him. We're not selling him today, are we? Okay. What happens then? You got to put yourself in this position. What happens if in 3 days' time our transfer window's shut and the Saudis come back with 200? Are you then going to sell him? Because to me, that just makes you look like very, very foolish. So you got to make that decision today. Yeah. And like I say, it's not an easy one, man.
Yeah, but okay, JS, I love comments like this. This is 2023 in a nutshell. Me not thinking that Vardial, Bastoni and Laporte will come to Tottenham Hotspur is very different for me saying that there's no players in between a Lloyd Kelly of Bournemouth and Laporte. There's a lot of players in between in the middle where I think Spurs should be shopping. In the last year, for example, Newcastle have bought Sven Botman. Crystal Palace have bought Mark Guehi, right? There are good players if you scout properly. I know you're talking about Lloyd Kelly with this, but it's not everyone's great or everyone's rubbish, right, LB? Like, it's not. There are those players in the middle. That's where I think Spurs should be shopping, towards the top end of the middle base. But look, Lloyd Kelly, another player that's linked with Spurs, LB. But the problem we've got is we can't sign another player unless we sell anyone. Right? And we've turned down 15 million euros today for Davinson Sanchez when he's got a year left on his contract, which is baffling. Eric Dyer apparently doesn't want to leave. He wants to go next year on abroad for free. Hoiberg is turning down Fulham. We can't buy anyone because of that. It's crazy, isn't it? The player power now is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, you speak about the Sanchez one. Clearly, 15 million is too low. But, you look at United. They were offered, I know Maguire didn't really want to go, but they were offered 60 million quid a couple of weeks ago from West Ham, weren't they, for the two poor players in Maguire and McTominay. They played the big cards of, no, we're not accepting that. Well, they probably wish that you had that 60 million quid in. And you talked about you need to get rid of players. I look at Spurs' squad and I just think you've got a lot of mediocre players. I do.
Loads.
Eric Dyer, Hoiberg, Sanchez. Who's buying these players? Because the top clubs aren't buying these players. I think the clubs in and around the Spurs.
But don't worry, LB, we're doing it again now, making excuses for buying average players. And then in a couple of years, people will be going, oh, no one wants these players. Well, no, because we keep hyping up very average signings. We've done it. Listen, if I look at this squad right now, the players that I wouldn't care going, Lloris, Foster, all the keepers other than Vicario, Ryan Sessegnon, disaster of a signing. Perisic is 34 now. Dyer, Sanchez, Tanganga's just gone out on loan. Rodon's gone out on loan. Spencer's gone out on loan. Royale is not a good player. Skip isn't a good player. Hoiberg can go. Lo Celso, Ndombele, right? It's just Richarlison. There's just so much kind of, I want to say it's just mediocre. It's mediocrity spread throughout our squad.
You know what I think Spurs should be doing, right? Because clearly Spurs are not shopping at the top level, as you said that yourself, right? But for me, they should be buying the best of the rest. So you bought Maddison. Great signing. Love Maddison. I would have took him at City. I think he's a great player. That's where they should be shopping. Looking at players like, you might not like him, but Onana at Everton, I think is a great player. Those sort of players. Look, Richarlison probably fits that profile. It just turns out he's not very good, but he fits that profile. That's where they should be shopping, Spurs. They should be going. City are going to the Leipzigs, the Borussia Dortmunds of this world, getting the best players, the Gvardiol's, the Haalands. Clearly, we all know Spurs can't do that. But Spurs should be going to the rest of the clubs in England, the best Europa League clubs, and saying, you know what, we're coming for you, because they might not be quite good enough for City, but they'll come to us with a manager that can improve players, and that will improve the value, But you don't often do that. Now, listen, Brennan Johnson might technically fit that profile. I just think it's an uninspiring signing because
I agree.
Of who he is. I've watched him quite a bit. I watched quite a lot of Forest last year, actually. I watched the Forest game against Arsenal. Missed a big chance one-on-one a couple of weeks ago where he should have put Forest ahead.
Don't you think the thing is as well, isn't it? I mean, LB, if we strip this back, forget that I'm Spurs, forget that you're Man City, or just as football fans, if we look at the optics, right, is that Spurs sold Harry Kane 20 days ago, 21 days ago, whatever it is. I think it was 21 days ago, exactly, because it was a Friday, right? The optics for me are, yes, I knew Harry Kane was going. I think I said it all the time to you guys, right? Pay enough, he will go. He wants to go to Bayern Munich, right? So I'm not saying we shouldn't have sold him. I think we should have. But the optics now are that the very first player you sign after Harry Kane goes is Brennan Johnson, not even a striker that's got a goal scoring record. And that for me is the worry that, yes, you're not going to replace Harry Kane. It's like you guys selling Haaland. Yeah, you don't go and find another Erling Haaland. They don't grow on trees. But you go and do something that's inspiring, something that makes all the fan base go, oh, I like that. And already, this fan base is already split. Like, just from this, 401 people have voted, right? I put a poll, 401 people have voted. And the question was, are you excited about the signing of Johnson? The options were yes, no, or typical Spurs. 27% have said typical Spurs. 34% have said no. And 38% have said yes. So it means 62%, even of that 400 sample size, are all completely underwhelmed with the signing. The other half will be the ones that go, have faith, he'll come good, he's young, we can coach.
Which fair dues.
Great, great. But the optics after selling Harry Kane is, come on, surely the next player coming in is a striker or exciting and gets you off your seat, no?
Well, this again, it just shows that whoever's running the football club at Spurs and making these decisions, they don't get it. As fans, we're actually very simple breed, football fans. You just have to please us. You lose a big player like Harry Kane. Most Spurs fans were like accepting of it. They knew the day was coming. You were, and a lot of other Spurs fans were, and a lot of them wanted him to go because they wanted him to win trophies. What you have to do there, it's very simple, is go out and make a big signing. Just go out so Spurs fans can be excited about something. Now you got Maddison in, but it's not position for position. When it's a signing like that. So, for example, when we lost Aguero, what did we do? We tried to get Kane. Okay, we didn't manage to get him, but we tried, and then we actually tried to get Ronaldo. As a football club, we tried to do that. It made the fans happy because we was like, yeah, we've lost Aguero. We're trying to replace him. We ended up getting Haaland. It just looks to me like Spurs have lost Kane. Yeah, they've got a good signing in Maddison, and then it's just like, oh, back to normal business now. Yeah, I mean,
right.
We'll just keep. This
is what I mean.
Players.
It's one of all the signings you've made. I think Van der Ven's a very good signing. I think Maddison's a great signing. Vicario, I've got no problem with. Everything else we've done for me doesn't scream, this is why we spent 2 years at Wembley to build this £1 billion stadium and bring in all the revenues. These are signings I would have been expecting to make when we were at the old stadium. Now, we were told the reason we moved, LB, was to compete. Now, I'm not talking about winning titles, right? You know me, I'm sensible, right? I'm not talking about, oh my God, we should be buying like players for 70 million every week. I'm not talking about that. But when you sell Harry Kane, make sure the next player that comes through the door makes all the fans go.
It's simple. Yeah. It's simple sort of mechanics of how football fans work, because now you're sitting. Yeah,
right. Go and get an Eze, and every single Spurs fan, I don't care. I'll ask everyone in the chat. Let me know right now, people in the chat. If Spurs had signed Eze, would you have been excited? All you've got to put in is yes or no. I think every Spurs fan then goes, okay, you know what? We let Kane go. But Eze, how exciting is that? 65, 70 million. Wow, this boy's going to do bits. Him and Maddison linking up. But now what you've got is a player straight away that is, yeah. And
that's not fair on him either, though, Savva, because he's coming into now to a situation where, you know, if you would have got that big signing, you probably would have been happy with that addition of Brennan Johnson. And I would probably say to you, if you sort of remove this whole Kane replacement thing from the equation, which you obviously can't do because it's emotionally attached to you would probably say, okay, 47 million, Brennan Johnson, I'll take it. It's a decent signing. The problem is you can't look at it in isolation. You have to put it in the full context of the football club of that you've just lost probably your best player of all time, who's certainly up there, and you've not properly replaced him. So listen, I think it's going to be a crazy one. I've got a dip, Savva, but...
Yeah, no, mate, listen, thanks for coming on. I've enjoyed it.
It's all right.
Always.
Big up to the chat, man. Make sure you drop a like on the stream and make sure you subscribe to Football Heritage, man. And anytime, get me on anytime.
Good man. Thanks, LB. I will see you later. Hang on. Yeah. Listen, I would say this. Look, Celtic didn't have a striker. They played a false nine. Their false nine scored 30 goals in the season. Huge difference between what Tottenham are doing. Look, I'll say it now, right? I don't mind. I don't mind Brennan Johnson. I don't mind. But when this is our big marquee signing of the summer, it's just a bit... hey, it is what it is. People will call me negative. Listen, I've supported this team long enough that I know what I'm talking about by now. But there are 625 of you in the chat. We're going to go until 5 p.m. Then I've got an hour break. Myself, Henry and Sean are on Sean's channel at 6 till 8. My channel 8 till 10, and then Henry's channel to see it through from 10 till 12. The window shuts at 11. There's always those few deals that trickle in afterwards. So it is what it is. This is who I would have gone to Nottingham Forest and bought with £45 million. This is who I would have bought. It would have been a Wonyi. Absolutely would have been a Wonyi. Definitely not Brennan Johnson. Listen, I hope he does well. I hope he does well. I think as well, what will happen if he grabs a couple of early goals, people will lose their minds. Let's see what he does over the next year. Let's see what he does over the next 2 years. But people are going to do what they did, aren't they, with Kulusevski? Oh, look who this is. We've got guests all over the YouTube world for you today. And look, oh my God, we've got Bournemouth fans. We've got Chelsea fans. It is all happening. Big up, Goonie. Big up, Sam. How you doing, lads?
Very well, very well.
All good, all good. I saw the opportunity to jump on and I definitely couldn't miss it, man. Big up yourself, Savva. Big up yourself as well. Listen, please forgive me. I forgot your name, Mr. Brighton fan. Please forgive me.
Sam. Brighton in red and black. Sam, mate.
Gooney's having a mare already.
Such a top 6 fan right there. Love it.
My bad.
Sorry, you support what club? Are they ever in Europe? Sorry, we don't know your name. We don't know the team name. Listen, I'm going to start. Sam, I want to start with you. Obviously, look, you've stumbled into mostly a Spurs channel, although I talk about everything. By the way, Jessica, you wouldn't be excited at the signing of Eze. Interesting. Lloyd Kelly, Sam, right? Yeah. Okay, right. That face told me everything I need to know. Last night, and Spurs have been after 2 centre-backs all summer. We've gone through we've got Van der Ven. We spent 5 or 6 weeks pretending that we were going to bid for Tapsoba. We've been in talks with Tosin Adarabioyo, Nelson of Galatasaray, Per Schurz of whoever he plays for, Per Schurz. And now it was announced last night at about 9-10 p.m. that Spurs have inquired about Lloyd Kelly of Bournemouth. Now, no disrespect to Bournemouth, I'm sorry, but this isn't like when you had Ake and I think everyone went, oh, that's a top defender. Can you tell the Spurs fans about Lloyd Kelly? How good is this guy and should Spurs be buying him?
I think he's a player that's got a load of potential, but as Bournemouth fans, I just don't think we've ever seen it. Like, what my this is how I'd badge it. Some Man City fans did sort of some Man City fans who didn't really know ball turn their nose up a little bit at Nathan Ake, and then since realised he was world class. And when he left the club, I think we were just relegated to the Championship. They bought him for about 40 million, and he was one of he would have been nearly every Bournemouth fan's best player, favourite player that season. Some even labelled him their best player of all time. Now, this season alone, I don't think Lloyd Kelly would make many Bournemouth fans' top 10 players in this current squad.
Wow.
I think genuinely, because he's so hit and miss. Look, he's got all the attributes. He's strong, he's quick, he's good in the air. However, there are multiple assets to his game that just aren't there at all. So I do think it's a bit of an odd one, I've got to say. I was really surprised when I saw the link there. And I think, I was just hearing the conversation between you two just a minute ago. Like, you should be looking a bit higher than that kind of level. Look, it sounds like I'm discrediting him. I think when Tyrone Mings left Bournemouth and Aston Villa signed him, a lot of Bournemouth fans were happy to get rid of Mings. Now, I've got my own opinions of Mings as a player, but invariably his game improved at Villa, and a lot of their fans, grew to love him very quickly. Could be the same for Lloyd Kelly at Spurs, but from my personal opinion, and this is a personal opinion rather than most Bournemouth fans, I was very surprised when I saw that link.
Yeah, I mean, Goonie, what do you? Welcome to the show. What do you make of this? I mean, it almost seems that Spurs fans we're stuck in this kind of what's it called when the same thing happened? Stockholm syndrome. I genuinely believe Spurs fans have Stockholm syndrome. We see the club being linked with top players like Tapsoba. Everyone's really excited. Then we go, okay, well, if we can't get in, we'll get Tosin Adarabioyo. That'll be okay. Not amazing, but okay. Then we go down a level and we go, okay, we're going to buy Lloyd Kelly. And what happens is over a few hours, every fan pretends that now this is the guy that the manager wanted. This is the guy we've been linked with for months when we haven't. If you were a Spurs fan, would you find this slightly underwhelming?
Yes, I would. But then you see, when I'm asked this question about Spurs, is I always have to ask the question: what is the Spurs fans' ambition before even going into this summer? That's my first, and I don't say it in a disrespectful manner. I genuinely just want to know what is the general consensus of what the ambition should be, and then I can sort of move on from there. But based on what I've seen of your team in the past 5-6 years or so, I think I would be quite disappointed, because you found yourself over the past few years in very, very, exciting places, Champions League finals. You've had top quality players in your side as well, and you seem consistent in bringing them in. But the fact that that's slowing down a little bit and you've lost the star player, for example, I would be disappointed. I'd expect the board to be at least giving me several top signings. Do you know what I mean? Addressing a couple key areas. If you're going to get rid of a key player like Harry Kane, the only thing to cushion the blow is either replace it with like-for-like quality, which is not always possible, which is very, very rarely possible, or you take that money, you look at the priorities in your team where you need to address, and you try and sign the best of the best for those positions. Those are the only two things you can do. I don't think Spurs have done that, unfortunately, for you guys.
Yeah, no, listen, absolutely. I don't know anymore, right? I'm loved and hated in equal measures. I understand that. I know who I am as a person, guys. I'm Marmite, but I will never drop my ambition as a fan, right? At Tottenham, we've been promised the world. We've had owners for 23 years, and after 23 years, owners should now have a well-oiled machine that we know how the transfers work, that we know how the youth system works, that we're winning trophies, but we're not. And now I feel like their lack of, I'll come to you, Sam, with this. I feel like the owner's lack of ambition on the pitch. Off the pitch, we're the best run club in the world, I would say, in terms of concerts and NFL and all of that kind of stuff. On the pitch, we're not. And I would say that ambition for me, I'll call it out, I feel like it's seeped into fans, that now when we're linked with average players, our fans start finding a way to convince themselves that this is good for the club.
Yeah.
But if Arsenal were making these signings, we go, look at them down the road. When Chelsea were linked with Brennan Johnson, right? Chelsea were linked with Brennan Johnson 3 weeks ago. I remember our fans going, "Oh my God, Chelsea are a dead club. Look at them, Brennan Johnson." Now we're buying him. It's, oh, I don't know. This guy's really exciting.
He's not even a bad player. This is the thing, right? With Brennan Johnson, the only issue that I had with him was the price tag. Because in terms of his profile, and when I look at, because this is what you also got to do as well in this age of football. Look at the player that you're signing and look at your manager. That's what you have to do. You have to correlate the two. Does this player have the profile for this manager to get the best out of this player? I honestly felt that Brennan Rodgers kind of fit that profile, because for me, he's versatile. He can play out on the wings. He's very quick. I know people hate that word, but because of that versatility, I can see Pochettino molding him into that kind of second striker, playing off that striker. Sort of similar to what Dele Alli was when he was at Spurs. Yeah. That's why I don't think he's a terrible player. But for 50 M's or anything close to that, for me, was ridiculous.
No, I don't think it's terrible, Sam. I don't think it's terrible at all. It's just underwhelming. It's like we bought Kulu, right? We bought Kulu on the wing and Solomon on the wing. We've got Perisic, we've got Hill, we've got Son on the wing, and now we buy another winger when we've got Richarlison up front. It baffling me.
You've just got that contrast at the moment with what's happening off the pitch versus what's happening on it, and that's what we've had. Like I've said on a chat with you recently, like I know the levels are different, but very similar to us in some ways, albeit obviously on a smaller scale with an American takeover that we had, where they promised the earth. We had Michael B. Jordan involved, promises of new stadium, which is happening.
Yeah,
and we spend about 70 million in January to try to keep us up, but they hire Gary O'Neill as the manager who had no experience, and Bournemouth fans were like, well, hang on, you're signing all these players and you're promising us the earth, but you're hiring a PE teacher, as Bournemouth fans called it. Now, fair enough, he kept us up and credit should go to him for that, but it's that kind of dichotomy of like, you're saying one thing and you're delivering another, and you've just sold Harry Kane. And then you're looking at players, no disrespect to Brennan Johnson, but I don't think you're a project club anymore. Right. Well, you haven't been for a long time.
Agreed. Like, our fans want everyone, Sam. Our fans want everyone to be. Yeah, don't worry, we can coach him to be brilliant. Cool.
You ain't got time.
At what point do we stop doing this? At what point do we go? You know
Very
what?
Good point.
Look, I've used this example, and listen, I really hope Brennan Johnson comes good. Once Spurs have signed a player, I can't do anything, right? I can only complain about it before. Now it's like, it is what it is. I hope he comes good. I look at Kudus, 45 million to West Ham. I look at Diaby, was 42 million pounds to Aston Villa, right? I look at these players, then I look at Brennan Johnson at more money than those two costs, and I go, oh, it screams for me, Sam, of laziness. It screams to me that no one's gone out and scouted the world to find someone as quick and as good as Brennan Johnson. So we've just gone, oh, well, Forest have got a quick British guy that helps the homegrown quota. Let's go for him. But I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, let's move on from Brennan Johnson. But to the point you just made, Sam, it's, when they're saying one thing and doing another. It's literally like me saying to my missus, keep Saturday night free. We're going for a lovely slap up meal somewhere, and then when it I come down. She's dressed in a beautiful dress. I'm in my tracksuit bottoms, and we're driving down to the McDonald's drive-through. It's like, well, hang on, which one was it? You said we were going for a slap up meal, but we're not. We're going for McDonald's. That's what I feel that Tottenham owners have done, and now the fans are going, oh, I actually prefer a McDonald's meal. I prefer McDonald's to Gaucho. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like. It's like that. Guys, what else is happening today in the transfer world? Chelsea, anything going on? Bournemouth, anything going on?
Not much for us.
Sorry, you carry on.
Go on, Goody. Well, yeah, I mean, like for Bournemouth, we've just got outgoings. We're looking for a striker, someone to complement Dom Solanke. There were rumours of him being, bidded on by West Ham, but I think, it was a firm no from us. But we're in a situation where we need players to go in order to get them in. So at the moment, it's pretty quiet. Apart from this Lloyd Kelly, Eric Dyer swap thing, which I don't think will happen. I don't think it's any good. I mean, 20 million, I would bite your arm off right now if you were going to pay us that and give us Eric Dyer. Like 20 million was rumoured, but I don't think anything's going to happen. I can't imagine it.
Can I ask you, would you take that swap? So lots of people were saying that there was a rumoured swap deal with Eric Dyer, who apparently wants to go abroad next year. And I hate this guy for this. Just get out my club. But would you have taken Eric Dyer if it meant Lloyd Kelly coming to us, considering Lloyd Kelly's they've both got 1 year left on their contracts?
You know what? I probably would. I probably would, because like when we played you at our place last year, 2-0 up, Kiefer Moore ran the show, and then they brought Bentancur and Eric Dyer on, and Eric Dyer changed the game. And I think he would be superb for us. We've been crying out for a defensive midfielder. We've got Tyler Adams in. He's unfit at the moment from Leeds United, and but we will need backup in case he gets injured. But I think Eric Dyer would go straight in. I think so. I would absolutely take it. Sounds like he's not interested in coming to Bournemouth. Why would you really? We're Bournemouth. We know who we are. But I would absolutely snap him up in a heartbeat. I think Lloyd Kelly's probably keen to go. And kind of try to ply his trade at a better club. I'm absolutely certain, but sometimes I think he's got delusions of grandeur, even with his own footballing ability. Because I think sometimes he's like he isn't a player that should be guaranteed a first 11 spot. Absolutely no way. There are better players than him at Bournemouth, and that's why he's not one of our top. Well, he's not in my top 10 with the current squad for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Goonie, let me come to you with this. I'm not sure. I always say this, if they're not Spurs fans, Paul O'Keefe is somebody that's got good connections to the club, reveals a lot of information, saying that Atletico Madrid are currently deciding on a loan bid for Hoiberg with an obligation. Tottenham are awaiting communication. Am I being dumb? Is it 3:00 on the day of a transfer deadline and they're thinking about it? Like how do these things get to the last 8 hours and... shall we make a move? Shall we not? Does this make sense? Hoiberg to Atletico Madrid. Is he good enough for Atletico Madrid, Goonie?
It makes sense from the player's perspective because
Yep.
rather than him going to Fulham, respectfully, they're not a Champions League club. They're not playing elite football. Hoiberg clearly still has ambition, which is why he's turning down that move. He's stated before, I believe, that he only wants Atletico Madrid. And there's also, as well, could be a domino effect here, because as of today, what I was told is that Conor Gallagher is actually very open to a move to Tottenham, which is, to many Chelsea fans would be shocking, because apparently this geezer's meant to be proper Chelsea. But you get me, some lessons are going to be learned the hard way. But he's open to moving to Tottenham. Tottenham are interested. There's a difference currently from when I last heard the news. 10 million in valuation is the difference. So you guys have bid 35 mil. Chelsea want at least 45, which to me tells me that there is a middle ground where I believe that both clubs will meet. I think it will be a thing where if it does go through, 40 million plus potentially 5 in add-ons, whether they'll be realistic ones or not remains to be seen. But it's a move that does make sense. If Tottenham do allow this, it will show me at least how seriously interested they are in Conor Gallagher, because I believe if that move is accepted, I think he'll move aggressive for Conor.
But the thing is, my understanding of it is... Sorry, and Sam, you need to go, don't you, Sam?
Yeah, I got
you need to jump. Listen, thanks for giving us the view on Lloyd Kelly, and good luck with the rest of your transfer window.
Cheers, Salah. Cheers, Goonie. Up the
mate.
Seagulls. I'm not Brighton.
Up the Seagulls.
Bournemouth. Respect, my guy.
Go on the Cherries. The noises that we're hearing from all the Spurs reporters, though, Goonie, is that Spurs can only sign Gallagher if one of our midfielders goes on a permanent basis. So would Hoiberg going on loan allow Spurs to bid for Conor Gallagher? And I don't mind Gallagher, by the way. I think he fits Ange's system perfectly.
It would, because remember that said loan with an obligation. If there's an obligation to buy, it means that the other club, Atletico, cannot back out of the deal. They must commit to funds. They have to buy the player, which means that on FFP, since you've got the obligation to buy in that, it's no difference from you selling him now. You can still make a move now. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think, as long as that term is upheld in that loan, that is an obligation to buy, then I can see you guys making an aggressive move for Conor Gallagher. I can see it happening.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, before we move on, there has been a little bit more transfer news somewhere else. Before we move on, there are 687 of you in the chat, so big up to each and every one of you. Smash the like button, only 245 likes, and keep subscribing, people. We've gone down in subscribers from this show, so obviously something we've said has annoyed people. Don't worry, it would have been me, Goonie. If before anyone think it would have been me. I like to challenge people. Ash, dude, you really worried me this window. You send me so many messages on the side, and you used to have so much optimism and ambition, and now you're just bigging up every single bad signing Tottenham are making. It's just worrying how little ambition you have as a football fan. I'll call you out. I'll call everyone out for it. Let's get some ambition going. In the last 20 minutes or so, Fabrizio Romano has announced that Ibrahim Sangare has the here we go to Nottingham Forest.
That is a huge move for Nottingham Forest.
That is a great deal. Coup. I'll be honest. I don't know why he's not gone to a bigger club. I don't know why. I wanted Spurs to sign him. I'm surprised that a Liverpool didn't come in, even a Chelsea. Obviously, you got Lavia and Caicedo. Yeah. Are you surprised he's not gone to a bigger club?
Yes and no. I mean, listen, the big, we've got to be honest with each other. The massive red flag here is his age. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with it, but in correlation to his price tag, bigger teams should have bit their hand off for him, for PSV. But the fact that, like you said, Chelsea, and these are teams last summer that desperately needed a DM. You get me? Chelsea, Liverpool, several other top teams out there could have done with a profile of that player, but they didn't go in for him. Yeah. But so that tells me that maybe the hype around him might be a little much. But from what I've definitely seen, he's a good player. He's not a shit player. And putting it in context and looking at a club like Nottingham Forest respectfully, that's a statement signing for them. A signing like that is longevity for them staying in the Premier League. And the more signings like that they make, the stronger they're just going to make their case to other players when it comes to selling their ambition. It's like, you know, people laughed at us, but we just got Sangare through the door out of a Champions League club, a player that was linked with several other clubs. And then here's the other thing as well. He can come in, absolutely smash it for Nottingham Forest. Next summer, they've got an 80, 90 million bid for the player.
So the Brighton model. The Brighton model, but obviously getting him now rather than when he's 19 and turning him into... Listen, I think it's a great signing for them. I would have... When I look at some of the dross in Tottenham's midfield and I look at Sangare at 35 million euros. Let me just check that. I want to check. Fabrizio Romano has said, yeah, I mean, look, I'll bring it up and I'll show you all. Look, this is a wonderful, wonderful deal. And then I look at Forest making this sort of signing and then Spurs interested in Lloyd Kelly. And I'm like, hang on. Forest have been in the Premier League for one season, Goonie. Ibrahim Sangare to Nottingham Forest. Here we go. Agreement in place with PSV on a 35 million euro package. 1 second. 35 million euros in pounds.
5 million euros equals 29,971.
29 million pounds. Right, let that sink in, people. Sangare will travel later after deal in place. Personal terms agreed. Vlachodimos is on his way. Hudson-Odoi completes his medical as well. Again, Hudson-Odoi. I think that's a good, solid signing for Nottingham Forest. I think they're making some sensible signings, no?
Yep. Another thing I was going to add on to the Sangare thing. This very much gives me Paulinho to Fulham vibes when they first signed him. Because when Fulham signed Paulinho, and this is the thing I love about YouTube, because once you do a video, you're on record. I said it.
There's nowhere to go.
I said it. When they made that signing, I said, people, this here is low-key signing of this season. 100% for a club like Fulham to get a player like this, you guys are going to see. And now look at him. Bayern Munich are trying to get him for what, 80 million euros now is the rumor. So we might be talking about the same situation with Sangare somewhere down the line. So, but yeah, I mean, Callum Hudson-Odoi, you see, that one's bittersweet, bruv. It's a bit painful because
Oh, I keep forgetting all these players are Chelsea, ex-Chelsea
Yeah,
you've sold so many.
But watch this. You see why it's painful with Callum Hudson-Odoi? Not that I rate him. I felt that he was overrated. But we could have got 50 million for this guy. 50
How
million.
much are you getting for him now?
4.
Oh, 4?
Yeah.
What? 1, 2, 3, 4?
1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
Wow. I mean, but for Forest, you're getting Hudson-Odoi at 4 million, Sangare at 29 million. So they're getting Sangare, Hudson-Odoi for 33 million pounds. Plus they got Murillo in at, I think it was something like 12 million. So for 50 million pounds, less than 50 million pounds, they've got in those 3 players. That's not bad, is it? That's not bad business at all.
That's shrewd business. It's definitely shrewd business. And it's business I'm expecting, and I'm sure Forest fans are now expecting to keep them up in the Premier League, 100%.
Oh, they'll stay up. They'll stay up. And you think all of those players have just been offset by selling Brennan Johnson?
And the thing is they're still in profit. They're still in profit.
Yeah,
Brennan Johnson's going for what? 45 million, it's been rumored.
Yeah.
So there's still
apparently it's 47 million, apparently the whole thing.
So there's still another 14 on the table.
Right. Yeah, I mean Nottingham Forest, and they're still in talks, right? I mean, every time I look at Nottingham Forest, it's Nottingham Forest open talks with this player, that player, this player, and you think they must have scouts everywhere. Like this is madness. Listen, I'd like you to talk to us, Goonie, about I don't know how long you've got, but if you've got some time.
Oh, I've got time, mate. I've got time.
Oh man, good. You're welcome for as long as you want. Listen, the whole Conor Gallagher thing. Now, this is another one, and I agree. This might sound quite contradictory from me. I like Gallagher. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Conor Gallagher's the best player I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's the most accomplished. I don't think technically he's the best I've ever seen. But when I look at a player and I look at the manager they're going to play for on the system, I can't help but think everything about Conor Gallagher's game suits Postecoglou's style of this high octane, high energy, pressing, midfielders breaking the lines and getting into the box and joining in. I think he'd be a good signing for Spurs. What do you make of him from a Chelsea perspective?
From a Chelsea perspective, I've never been keen on him having a future at Chelsea, if I'm just being completely honest.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
In terms of, because again, in terms of where I want Chelsea to be, I think long term, I can name many other options who would do a better job than what he would. And then on top of that, Connor's also very much a victim of circumstance in terms of what's demanded from him in today's game. What I mean by that is, on top of that is, Conor Gallagher's best role, naturally, is in that number 10 role, in that hole. You saw how good he was at Crystal Palace when the team was sort of tailored to that position, and he absolutely thrived. Now he's been found in Chelsea where he's had to be used in the pivot. Why? Because he's got the stamina, he's got the energy. You know what I'm saying? So it's that attribute that's having to, have the manager rely on him when there's not another option to play next to Enzo. And now fans are starting to see him as that in the club, and I know that's not what he is. And in terms of long-term options going forward, I look at the number 10 position and I look at the role next to Enzo Fernandez, the number 6. Do you know what I mean? That player who's going to be winning possession high up the pitch and also going to be helping shield that defense. Now, Gallagher, he has been doing that over the past few games, and he's done it all right, particularly against Liverpool. He played very well next to Enzo. Do you know what I mean? But that's not his role. And when you look at the competition he's got for next to Enzo, he's not going to start over Caicedo. He's not even going to start over Lavia in terms of the balance. And personally, I don't even think Gallagher's the better player long term. Lavia, for me, is going to be clear. So it wouldn't make no sense. Now, when you further advance into his natural position in that number 10, in that space, maybe because of injuries now you can use him. But long term, I've seen Pochettino trust Chukwuemeka over him. This is not me saying Chukwuemeka's better. I'm just going with what the manager.
I like Chukwuemeka. I think he's a talented lad. I really do.
He looks like he's got good potential. He's just got to get games. That's the only concern like I have about most of these players. So you've got Chuks that's there. Remember, Nkunku's going to occupy that space. Whether he's going to have that number 10 role, a lot of the time when he comes back, he will occupy that space, whether it's as a second striker or whatever it's going to be. So there's also that. You've also got Cole Palmer, who can play that number 10 role that we've just brought in through the door. And on top of that, for future reference next summer, this might be a spoiler for some, or some might already know this. But next summer, we're looking to bring in a serious number 10 in that position. Jamal Musiala, we're looking to make a move for him. The groundwork is actually starting now to make that move happen. He is open to coming back to Stamford Bridge. So if that does happen, right, where does Conor Gallagher play and how much game time does he have?
Yeah, sure. I'll be honest. Look, I remember going down to, I live near, I'm about 15, 20 minutes away from Charlton Athletic. And I remember going down to watch them play. My mate actually does some of the presenting down at the pitch side before the game and after the game. And he does a show after every game with Alan Kirbishley in the studio. And he said to me, come down. He said, we're playing tonight. And I think they were playing, I don't matter, does it? Charlton were playing Swansea or someone. They were in the Championship. And Conor Gallagher was on loan. And I think he was like 18 at the time, or 19 whenever he was at Charlton. And he said to me, you watch that blonde lad in midfield for Charlton. He said, he's on loan from Chelsea. He said, but Jesus Christ, does he stand out head and shoulders above everyone? And I watched it and it was like, he ran the game from start to finish in terms of his touch, his control, box to box, wanting the ball, being available for the ball, driving forward. He scored a goal that night. And ever since then, I've watched him and thought, okay, he then did well when he went up the next level to West Brom. He then did really well when he went to Crystal Palace. I just almost feel like he's been a bit of a victim of Chelsea's kind of unsettled period where you haven't had steady managers and a steady formation and set players. So I just think he'd be a good option as one of Spurs' midfielders. But whether or not he'd come to Spurs, whether or not we can afford him, whether or not we need to sell to buy. But it sounds like you wouldn't be sad to see him leave for Tottenham.
In terms of obviously rivalry and the history between the two clubs, obviously I would be, I'd feel a little way about it, but you got to be ruthless in this game, especially in today's age. There's no room for sentiment no more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's look at some of the other transfers that are going on today. So Bayern Munich have basically signed Paulinho. The club that everyone told me had no finances have managed to bring in Kim Min-jae, Harry Kane and Paulinho in one window. Romano has said that they're going to go in the last few hours again for Trevor Chalobah of Chelsea, and that Chalobah wants the move. What's the situation with this? Because for me, I thought like Trevor Chalobah was like a backup centre-back for you guys, and apparently you want something like 45, 50 million. What's going on with Trevor Chalobah? And how good is he?
Chalobah for me, right? He's a steady Eddie. Do you know what I mean? He's just one of those brothers where I know if he comes on the pitch, he's going to be reliable more times out of 10. To be fair on Trev, I can't really say a bad word about him. Every time he's come on, he's done well. He's rarely made mistakes. He's stood up and made himself counted in very big games. He's even scored a screamer as well, man. Fair play to him. So he's been nothing but all right for Chelsea. But when it comes to the price tag, you got to remember this. He's a Champions League winner. He's a Club World Cup winner. He's a Super Cup winner. All of these things, he's an England international. He's played. All of these things, they add to the price tag as well. And remember, Chelsea are in the driving seat here because of the remainder of his contract. He's not in his last year or whatever. He's still got time. So we're in the driving seat. And on top of that, there's always that English premium. So 45 million, if we get that for him, I'm all for it. I'm happy because on the books, that looks even better for us. Do you know what I mean? Chalobah is an academy player, same as Conor Gallagher. We've spent a lot of money. We need to recoup money somehow. And it was going to be obvious that it was a lot of the academy players that were going to have to be the sacrificial lamb for this project to actually start moving in motion. Otherwise, we would have had our hands strapped by FFP. So here's what it is. 45 M's, I'm taking that. I'm running to the bank all day long for Trevor. Because when you look at the squad and the options that we do have once everybody gets back, it's not looking good for Trevor. We're going to be going to a back four. Yeah, eventually, you know, Fofana's going to be back. I know it's a long-term injury, but he's still at the club. Badiashile is going to be back. Levi Colwill's there. Disasi, who I think Trevor's better than, is going to be there. And it all just comes down to the manager. Is he going to want, and the player, is he going to want to be fifth choice, fourth choice? Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, Stanley Cush, if you are referring to Conor Gallagher here, I would have Conor Gallagher over Ollie Skip all day, every day, and a month of Sundays. I'm sorry. He is a much better footballer than Ollie Skip, who doesn't get anywhere near the England side. Conor Gallagher gets near it. Conor Gallagher's played for Chelsea in big games. I'm sorry, this is crazy talk. Let's look at some of the other signings that have gone on. I mean, Amrabat, I can't understand for love nor money, Goonie, how this transfer has taken all summer and then it ends up being a loan, right? It's like all summer. Is Amrabat? Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. It's not often you hear nice things in YouTube comment sections. Thank you. That's lovely. And by the way, actually, before I ask that question, Nana Hotspur has said, I would have a flash sale, buy one, get one free. It's crippling us. I think at the moment, it appears that the problem is that most of these players don't want to leave Nana Hotspur. It seems like Dyer, Sanchez, Ndombele, Lo Celso, none of them seem to want to go, but I agree with you. I'd get them all out for £1. I don't care anymore. Sam West has said, if you need Eredivisie top 5 info, give me a call. That's very kind of you, Sam. Thank you very much for the offer. Much appreciated. And also Blaine Dev, as always, a massive supporter of the channel and has gifted 5 channel memberships in this show already. So really generous. Said, question, Savva. How can Enoch look at Levy, 17 managers in 23 years, and think, yeah, you're not the issue? When it comes to lack of success, it's about nothing but profit. Shambles. Blaine Dev, we're on the same page, my friend. I would say this, as I keep saying, 23 years of the same owners. No other club in Europe, I don't think, can claim that. And if you've got the same owners for 23 years, by now we should be a well-oiled machine that have a brilliant transfer strategy, a brilliant youth setup, pathway for players coming into the first team and then being sold the way that Chelsea do it, the way that Man City do it. We should be winning trophies and we should be knowing what our philosophy is as a club. We don't have any of those things I've just described after 23 years. So for that reason, I'm out. And I wish the owners would be out as well. But thank you so much for all the super chats. Keep liking, keep subscribing, people. There's 640 of you and only 307 likes. And we've only had 1 subscriber the whole show. So smash
Get them likes up,
button,
people.
Absolutely. Amrabat, sorry, Goonie. Sorry. Amrabat, what's going on with this? How good is he? And is this what Manchester United needed in this window?
I like Amrabat. I think he's a very good player. Does he perhaps balance out what Manchester United have got in their midfield? Yeah, I think he's a better fit than Mason Mount, I'll be honest. When you're now talking about Bruno Fernandes, Amrabat, and Casemiro as a midfield, it sounds a lot more balanced than a Mason Mount, Bruno, and Casemiro. Now, you're not leaving Casemiro as isolated in that defensive mid-role as we've been seeing in the first few games. I don't know how he's been getting the criticism he's been getting, but when I've been watching Manchester United, I've seen Casemiro surrounded by 3 or 4 players right around him. How is he going to press 3 or 4 players on his own if he's left isolated in the midfield? Now, when you've got an Amrabat who's a little bit more disciplined than what a Mason Mount is, it brings balance. So for me, it's a move that makes sense. Why it took so long is what I would question, because for the price tag that this guy was meant to be going for, it's ridiculous that Manchester United didn't trigger it. Or is that telling us United, they're bound by FFP? I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But listen, he's going there. I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people in this country didn't quite understand how Casemiro plays as a footballer. And I'll tell you the reason I'm bringing him into it is because Casemiro, when he played for, what was it, a decade or 9 years or whatever, he was at Real Madrid winning everything over and over again. Everyone assumed that because he was the defensive-minded one of him, Kroos and Modric, that he almost sat in on his own and played as a number 6, and he didn't. If anyone watched Real Madrid, that's not how they played. They played very much with a 3. The other 2 would break and get on the ball more, but it wasn't like one was a 10, one was an 8, and one was a 6. at Man U, what you've already seen at the beginning of this season is where he's been left on his own because he's got Mount in front of him and Bruno Fernandes. That's not his game. That's not his game at all. And I think that if you stick Casemiro with a partner such as Amrabat, I think you now get the better of Casemiro as well. Would any legs in what I'm saying, or am I waffling?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But what I would even add on is what you're asking Casemiro to do with the two players that you mentioned. I don't think any number 6 could do that. How are you going to be left on a counter attack, isolated in the middle of the park, and you've got 3 or 4 players running at you? It's impossible. You can't do anything about that. Now you're just going to leave your defense exposed with the pressure. That's what's going to keep on happening. And United, to be honest with you, they had to get that deal over the line, 100%. But my worry is still this for United is Casemiro has shown that he's starting to get injuries now. Where is his backup? Who's his replacement? Because Amrabat, for me, he can do a number 6, but he's not the most disciplined in that role because he's also got a lot of strengths going forward as well.
By the way, would you like some breaking news from your club?
I read it and it's hurt my heart still. Go on, hit me.
I'll bring it up. Yeah, this has come. I mean, Chelsea, you guys, it must never be boring. Like you, it's like a merry-go-round. Romano has just said in the last minute, there you go, Burnley have agreed a £31.5 million package for Ian Maatsen from Chelsea. Fee includes add-ons. There's still no green light from the player side. Chelsea would also have sell-on clause as part of the deal. Now, this is interesting because if Chelsea, I mean, look, we all know you've spent like 400 million this window. Is that right? 400?
Something. I stopped counting, Savva. Honestly, yeah, we just signed Cole Palmer today. So, do you know what I mean?
The arrogance. Oh, we stopped counting. We've got loads of money. We just spend what we want. Look, where I was going to go with this, I believe you've sold something like 260 million pounds of players and spent like 400 million. If you can get 45, 50 million for Trevor Chalobah, and then you can get 30 million for Maatsen, all of a sudden, it starts to balance out in terms of what you spent versus what you've sold. But forgive me, I don't know a lot about Maatsen. I've seen him play. Was he bought for your academy?
He was he's a homegrown player.
Are you getting rid of all your homegrown players? Like, is that would be Chalobah, Maatsen, Mount, Odoi, Loftus-Cheek,
Lewis
Hall. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great way of making money, but like, I mean, talk to us, Maatsen. What is he? Where does he play best? Why would you be letting him go?
Ian Maatsen, for me, should be the starting left back right now at Chelsea, in my honest opinion. Based on what I've seen of Cucurella, sorry, he should have gone. I was devastated when that move fell through to Manchester United. Ben Chilwell, I love Ben, but he's looked a little vulnerable defensively a few times. And even going forward at times, he's slowed down play a little bit. I'm not saying that he's not good enough. No, I like Ben Chilwell, but I feel that it would have been better to get rid of Cucurella and keep in Maatsen. Maatsen, for me, is a player that I've kept track of because he was also on loan at Coventry. And those that know me know that my stepdad is a Coventry City season ticket holder for about 40, 50 years now. Wow. And yeah, do you know what I mean? So he used to tell me week in, week out, this boy's special. I don't know what the hell he's doing here. He's special. Went to Burnley, absolutely tore it up there as well. But it was interesting because he came back this preseason.
So he was there. Yes. So he was on loan last year in the campaign they got promoted.
Yes.
So he's worked with company and
yes.
Right. Okay, that adds a bit of right. Got it. Sorry.
Right. He went to Burnley, absolutely tore it up with him, which is why company has always maintained interest that he wants to bring the player back. I don't think it's a good move right now for Chelsea. I think Chelsea need to keep hold of him. Chelsea, because if Cucurella gets if Chilwell gets injured, and if you look at his history, it is likely he may get injured at this point in the season, then we're relying on Cucurella for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
The drop-off between those two players is too big for me to rely on Cucurella. He's shown himself to be a liability time and time again. I just don't think he's got the IQ to be able to cope with this Chelsea team. So That's why I think we should keep him.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Lots of people now saying that it's going to be a loan with an obligation. Listen, I'm sure we'll find out in the next hour. One thing's for sure: when all these things happen with what are we, 7.5 hours of the window? What is it, coming up to 3:30? Yeah, so 4 o'clock to 11. Yeah, 7.5 hours of the window that this all needs to be wrapped up. Gary Becks, just quickly, hope you're well, Gary, said at Football Heritage TV, Sav, love it. What's your thoughts on Alejo Valise and why you think we are waiting to blood him? If he's not at, say, Scarlett's level or better, why buy him? What's the hold-up? Yeah. No, that's not an answer. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, for me, I think if you're going to bring in a young 19-year-old striker that scored goals in the Argentinian First Division, I'd at least like to see him on the bench, right? When I can't believe I'm going to say this, and please forgive me, I'll wash my mouth out later. When our only recognised centre forward is Richarlison, I can't understand why he's not on the bench, at least, if I'm brutally honest. It very much screams he is one for the future and that he's not ready and that they just felt that he might come good. Definitely one to watch, Gary. But yeah, interesting, because Scarlett's gone out on loan to the Championship. Valise isn't even making our squad. Very, very interesting. Look, it's all happening today, Goonie. One of the things I had Matisse on this morning, and one of the questions I asked him was about, do you still think that even though you've spent all this money, that you still need, and the missing ingredient is an out-and-out number 9? And with that in mind, do you suspect in the last 7.5 hours for anything to happen, or do you think that he's going to be happy to go with Sterling, Jackson, Mudryk, and Kunku and Cole Palmer?
I think he's also trusting Breuer to come back to fitness as well. That's what I've also heard. He's a player that Poch has actually been very excited to work with Breuer. He's had a lot of interest in him throughout Breuer's career. So I think he's got an element of trust. But for me, I do have my concerns, because I've said, and you know, not many people have agreed with me. It's actually been a controversial statement, but I don't feel that Nicholas Jackson is a natural number 9. I've said many times that I feel he's either a second striker or he plays better coming off that left channel. I don't think he is a natural number 9. But that's not to say that he's a bad player. And it's going to take time for him. If I am correct, it's going to take time for him to learn and adapt at that number 9 role. And I just feel that we should be signing somebody who already knows that role for several reasons. So Nicholas Jackson can also shadow him, so he understands how to play that role a lot better. It will also be good for his development. And the player that I would have loved for Chelsea to sign, again, this is one that divides opinion in the fan base, but I would have loved to sign Dusan Vlahovic. I hope that we do make a move, a last-minute move to Juventus. They are interested in getting rid of the player.
I think he'd score goals for you, Goonie. I do. I listen, do I think Vlahovic is the best number 9 in world football? Of course not. Everyone knows that Richarlison is the best number 9 in world football. But I do believe that I believe he'd be that focal point for you. And I can only imagine that players like Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson, Sterling, and Kunku when he's fit, playing off of him would give you a completely different dynamic. But what it would give you the option is whipping balls into the box to the big man. And he will score goals. We've seen it from Vlahovic. He scored goals at Fiorentina. He scored goals at Juventus. He scored goals internationally. For me, I can't understand. This looks like a nailed-on, ready-made fit. But I don't know. It's just not happened.
No, it's not. Yeah, he's just, well, listen, man. With Chelsea, we're a club where we can be predictable. Sometimes things just drop out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
And the final day of the transfer window, there is always drama. And one club that you could probably bet your house on who will be in the center of that drama is Chelsea. So I'm not necessarily calling it quits yet, because anything can happen, but I would absolutely love it. I'd love it for Vlahovic to join Chelsea in the last hours. So we'll see.
Well, there's been some more news from our mate Fabrizio Romano. One is that Amrabat has completed the first half of his medical. The second bit is that Serge Reguilon has now completed all the paperwork and is a Manchester United player for, at least until January. So good luck with that, Man United, because he wasn't even good enough for us. This is, Goonie, if you ever read anything that is levelled at Spurs, this paragraph here completely sums up Spurs in every way, shape or form. Told Atletico Madrid already presented verbal proposal for Hoiberg on loan with a buy clause. This is the next bit, right? What I was talking about. Deal currently complicated. Every single time Spurs are in a deal, it's complicated. As initial proposal not matching Tottenham expectations. Atletico Madrid still on it. How complicated can a deal be? Why is it always Spurs where it's complicated? Like, what? Why can every other club seem to get, like, these deals seem to be wrapped up in minutes? Like Fatty to Brighton. Done. Right? Spurs, it's complicated, not sure about the terms. Oh, my God, Daniel Levy. Sorry, frustration there. Back in the room.
No, I hear you. But remember that there's context with Ansu Fati. There was no obligation to buy. It's just a straight loan. Sure. So when you're talking obligation to buy, there's obviously negotiations that need to be had. And with the complications of obligations to buy with loans is the fact that the loaning club is going to argue, well, this player is going to spend the season with us. If we're paying his wages, this is how much we're going to be paying on top of the loan fee. We're going to want that off the transfer. So there's still things that need to be negotiated. And when I see the first offer has been rejected, I don't really look into it, because more times out of 10, unless it's a release clause or a pure loan like we see with Fatty, more times out of 10, the first bid always gets rejected. It's the opening offer. It's more always a lowball. So Tottenham, they're probably in negotiations now. You never know. They're probably at a stage where, Atleti have made a more acceptable bid, because by all means, if an obligation is being spoken of, Atletico must have a really high interest in the player. So I can see this happening. I do see it happening.
Do you know what makes me laugh, right? Is, listen, maybe I'm just being naive because I don't really think a lot of Hoiberg, but I'm going to look at Atletico Madrid's midfielders, right? I'm just going to have a look at their squad. And in their midfield, they've got Koke, Thomas Lemar, Sol Niguez, Axel Witsel, and Rodrigo de Paul. I don't know if I'm being an idiot. I'm looking at that five and going, I wouldn't have Hoiberg above any of them. Like any of them. I don't know what they've got planned for him. What do you think it is about him? What do you think that I know he suits a Simeone type formation, but I wouldn't want him above any of them.
It comes down to manager and styles, doesn't it? And Hoiberg is very much a player that's what you call an industrial midfielder that works hard, that gives that puts in for the team, and on occasion steps up on the big occasion, because I remember him at some point scoring goals in big games for you guys. One in particular was against us to draw the game 2-2. Fuming about that, but you get me. He has stepped up in the past, and that's the kind of player that Simeone goes for. You already know the profile of players that he likes, so he fits the bill for him. But in terms of the other midfielders, I would have said in several cases a few years ago for them, I would have agreed. Like Axel Witsel, for example, a few years back, I definitely would have agreed with you. He's probably aged a bit in terms of his...
True.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Who else did you mention there?
Koke, Lamar.
Koke is another one getting towards the end of his career. Thomas Lamar. I don't know what's going on with this guy. The only one I can really see there with a nailed on future is Rodrigo de Paul. Yeah.
And he turned down. Didn't he turn down a bid to go out to Saudi as well? I'm pretty sure he turned down a bid, and I think Rodrigo. Let me start that all again. I think Rodrigo de Paul is a really good footballer. I think he's a very good midfielder. Look, maybe he goes there. Maybe Hoiberg goes there and plays every game. as I said, I don't think he suits a Postecoglou style of football. I do think he suits very much a Simeone kind of counter-attacking, sit in, sit deep, be hard to beat, all the dark arts.
Yeah.
Do you put you on the spot? You reckon that will happen? 7.5 hours to go. Is that happening?
Yeah, because I know the player wants the move himself, and if the
Right.
player is going to push for the move, then chances are it's going to happen unless Levy's an idiot and decides to dig his heels in.
Kenneth McQueen. Kenneth McQueen said, according to a highly regarded football expert, Savva, that's this guy, look at him, here he is, it is now Levy time. Do you know what this guy is referring to? And I'm going to show you, right? This is how I know he didn't watch the video. So yesterday I did a video, Goonie. I'm going to show you, right? Not the video, but I'll show you. I mean, I could show you because it's my video, right? It's not copyright, but I'm not going to. I did a video yesterday called, here we go, called, can you see that? Levy time is here. Have faith, everybody. Right? Now, what this troll is trying to do is make out like I believe this. For anyone else and for the 4,500 people that watched the video, they'll know that this was very much tongue-in-cheek and I was actually ripping Daniel Levy apart because there's no such thing as Levy time. But Kenneth McQueen, thank you very much. We do like trolls. It's always nice to have you in the chat. You really help with algorithms. Goonie, listen, it's all happening, mate. There seems to be deals going on everywhere. Aston Villa have just completed the signing of Clement Longley on loan. I mean, that's a strange one, isn't it? Clement Longley.
I don't rate him. I don't rate him.
Awful.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Maybe they're just looking at the players. You know, his name. It's been at Barcelona or whatever. I don't know, but I've never seen what's special about Longley. Never seen what's special about him. We was linked to him during the Marina and Abramovich era, and I was like, please God, no, please no.
Yeah, it's strange. I get it. I get the whole injury to Mings and they needed some cover, but this just feels like all the good work I think they've actually done in the window. This one just screams to me a little bit of, no, we don't really, no, not at all. Let's talk about Liverpool. Liverpool have had a lot of hate this summer in terms of they've not moved. They had the whole debacle with obviously your boys where it was, yeah, we're going to get Lavia. No, you're not. Oh, we're going to get Casado. No, you're not. They wanted Bellingham and obviously he went to a bigger club. Same with Tchouaméni. But this window, they have brought in Alexis McAllister, highly rated from Brighton, Argentina. They've brought in Soboslai, who I think is a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
They've brought in Endo, who maybe for a lot of people that don't watch any other leagues, I think Endo is a solid footballer. I don't think he's this great, big, sexy, exciting name, but he can do a job at centre-half or centre-mid. And now today they've gone and got the here we go for Ryan Gravenberch from Bayern Munich. So to be fair to them, they have let 5 centre-mids go, brought 4 centre-mids in. Good business for Liverpool in the end?
Yes and no. Yes, because the player is very talented for the price tag they got him for as well. It's a steal, but they needed another number 6. That's what they needed because Endo looked to me like he struggled in the last few games I seen him play, and as we've seen through previous history, it's never good to rely on one number 6 an entire season. It just doesn't end well. So I think that they should have really prioritized getting another number 6 in the door. But in terms of him as an individual buy, like looking at the player, well, he's got bags of talent. The potential is got a very high ceiling. But let's see. I just think long term, it might hurt them if they don't close this window without a DM.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, what midfield 3 can you see them going with now? Because do you buy any of those and none of them play? Is Endo going to be used more as a utility man to to supplement for when one of their centre halves gets injured? For example, Virgil van Dijk's now going to be on a ban. I don't know how long was that, 1 game or 3 games or whatever
No,
he's
it's 3
banned
games
for.
now, yeah.
3 games. Does Endo slot into centre half? Does Gomez go in alongside Matip? What do you think the midfield 3 and the makeup's going to be?
Well, if Endo is going to slide into that midfield, the centre back pairing, then they've got no option but to use, either a trio of Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and McAllister, and you're probably going to have to ask Gravenberch to do a role that he's not necessarily familiar with, which is a number 6 role. Have a little bit of discipline. I've seen this happen at Chelsea before, where we ask players who are not number 6 do that number 6 role, and it doesn't end well. Right? Trust me, it doesn't usually end well. So I think in terms of that, they are massively imbalanced in that midfield, but individually they are 3 very, very talented players, and no doubt there'll be some games where they're going to be steamrolling teams, but there'll be other games where they're going to suffer, where they're going to get sliced apart in that midfield. They're just going to get bypassed if they don't address that issue.
I completely agree with you. Just some other breaking news. Fabrizio Romano has just said that João Felix has landed in Barcelona. That's all he said. He's landed in Barcelona. Looks like that will be a deal that does get over the line. They've got a lot of players in that midfield area now, Barcelona. But hey, listen, João Felix, a very talented footballer. Didn't quite work out for him with you guys, Goonie, but again, I'll say the same thing as what I said about Conor Gallagher earlier. It was a very mismatched team with 3 different managers and different systems. João Felix as a footballer, do you not like?
I like him, but not for Chelsea. Not for me. He's wonderful going forward in terms of like just a pure footballer. That's what he is. He's a wonderful player to watch, but like all the off the ball work and sometimes the attitude for me that I saw at Chelsea, it wasn't for me. Not for me. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always find it's interesting when a player goes on loan somewhere. What sort of attitude are you going to get? Is the player there for a free ride? Is he there to win a place in the team? It's really, really interesting. The other bit of news that has just broken as well is that McAtee has joined from Man City for a season-long loan at Sheffield United. There is news that Bayern Munich, I'm reading now that Bayern Munich are going to come in with another bid for Trevor Chalobah. Apparently that's going to be in the next hour. So we'll see what happens there. Jonathan Monk said, you're underrating Hoiberg heavily. When has he ever been bad? The reason he's leaving is he doesn't fit Andy's style of play. Listen, Jonathan, I'm underrating him heavily because he's not the sort of player I like. I can only say what I like in a footballer, and he is the complete opposite to everything I like in a footballer. I like players that can get around. If you can't get around, if you can't and don't have a good engine, Teddy Sheringham didn't have a good engine, technically superb. Right. I think if you've not got one, you need to have the other. Ideally, you've got both. Technically, I like players that get their foot on the ball, create, make things happen. I don't think that was Hoiberg. Look, each to their own. But the problem is, Goonie, at Tottenham, there's excuses for every single Spurs player. Oh, you underrate Sessegnon, you underestimate Royal, you underestimate Sanchez and Dyer and Hoiberg and Skip. I'll ask the questions. Why don't we ever win anything then? If all these players are so good and everyone thinks I underrate them, why are we never winning anything? And why have we been such a mess for 4 to 5 years?
It's a fair question, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the fans are going to be reaching for, well, look, we've changed managers, etc., etc. But they're just not fit the style of what you've got. And on top of that as well, there's still holes in your team that you need to address. There's still holes in your team you need to, because you see, the way you're going to get the best of your players is if you have a strong spine. If your spine is strong, and not only have you got your first choice players playing, but you've also got your players on the bench that are happy to be there, but are good in that, but the drop off is not too much. You start to build things around that. And I don't think you've really, since Pochettino, since when you had your Lloris, your Vertonghen, your Wanyama, Eriksen and Harry Kane, I don't think you've ever had the spine like that, because I'm sure you remember even during those times, you were seeing players that didn't have the best reputation and perhaps weren't the best players, but coming in and overperforming your expectations of them. But that's a symptom of it when you've got such a strong core. You see what I'm saying? So partly these players are going to suffer because of that too.
Mm-hmm. Another deal that's just been done. This one it concerns, I would say, Spurs' rivals, maybe Chelsea's rivals as well, Arsenal. And it involves Rob Holding, that top-class centre-back. Fabrizio Romano has said, medical ongoing for Rob Holding at Crystal Palace. Done deal, and here we go for £4 million. Permanent transfer from Arsenal for the centre-back who preferred move to Palace over La Liga proposals. Goonie, Rob Holding to Palace, bit more of his level than Arsenal, isn't it? If we're being brutally honest.
I'd say so. I definitely say so. I mean, he's been there since Arsene Wenger. So yes, he's definitely outstayed his welcome from an Arsenal perspective. I mean, I've got no complaints as a Chelsea fan. I can't stand Arsenal, do you know what I mean? But 4 million is to just take it and go. I think that just reflects that the club just was willing to take anything to just get him off the books. So fair play to them. Fair play to them.
Savva is the new Sean Butler for Levy. I don't know what this means. By the way, somebody did ask for a poll to see whether or not people are Levy in, Levy out. I've just put a poll in the chat and it says, are you in or out? There is in, out, and not fussed. You've got to be fair. Not everyone is going to be in or out. Some people are absolutely not fussed. I get triggered too easily. I'm not sure what's happened in the last 20 minutes that I've got triggered about, but okay. Happy times. Listen, I just think that the whole transfer windows, they're now getting crazy, Goonie, aren't they? To the point where I remember growing up, transfer windows used to be 2 or 3 players in or out. I've just got your private message as well. Whenever you need to jump, man, it's absolutely cool. Transfer windows used to be 2 or 3 players in and out every window. Now we're getting to the stage where clubs are bringing in 6, 7, 8, 9. Do you think in the long term this could be why we're not seeing many teams ever actually have any consistency?
No, I just think we're in a phase where teams are starting rebuilds. They're rebuilding teams, and other teams don't have to do it because, case in point, Manchester City, they've not been aggressive this transfer window. They're in a position where they just cherry pick. They just say here, here, and here, window done. Keeps the wheels in motion. That's where teams are trying to get to. When, going back to what I said, once you have identified that spine that works, that is successful, that's when you can start saying, cherry pick here, 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 here. We move for the next season. We continue our challenge. That's where these teams are trying to be. That's what Chelsea are trying to do now. We're trying to put something like that in place now. So somewhere down the line, we are eventually like Manchester City, where we just even bigger picture. Instead of even doing that, we're going into Strasbourg. We're going into our academy saying we're going to bring him. He's ready to come and play this role. He's going to develop now, hopefully be a mainstay in the first team. That's the long-term vision. So a lot of teams are in the position where they are actually rebuilding their teams, which is why you're seeing such volumes of transfers at the minute.
Yeah, do you know what? I completely agree with you. If you look at the way Man City have run themselves, they literally replace what they sell. Do you know what I mean? Every window. If you look at their ins and outs this window, as far as I can see, they have lost Laporte at the back, Vardy's come in. I'm not saying like for like, but one centre-back in, one centre-back out. Mahrez has gone, Doku's come in, right? Gundogan's gone, Kovacic's coming in. Nunez has been bought because of the 4-month injury to De Bruyne. When you look at that business, it's not like they're going, right, we've won everything. Now we need to go and buy 7 or 8 more players. It's literally replacing what has gone out the door. I just feel that too many other clubs are trying to do too much every window. I agree with you as well. I think that hopefully from your point of view for Chelsea, that the 7 or 8, 9, 10 signings a window will eventually stop, and you'll have to have a nucleus of a team that you then just complement 2 or 3 each window. Do you think you can get to that stage anytime soon?
I'll tell you now on good authority that next summer is most probably going to be the last time you're going to see erratic spending from Chelsea. Well, erratic's not really the right word to use. I think, well, maximum spending from Chelsea. I think after next summer is where you're going to see it tail off quite a bit, because I know Chelsea for the future is still interested in getting a striker in, regardless of Jackson's development. It's just looking for the right one. They're also interested in, they're looking at Robert Sanchez still to see whether he can hold down that position. They're still very much interested in Maignan. So there are several positions there where we're looking at expensive players. And like I mentioned earlier, the Jamal Musiala potential transfer, that's not going to be cheap. Do you know what I mean? So once we address those positions long term, the spending is going to drop off. So, yeah, I don't see this carrying on for much longer.
Just quickly, Faz is here as always. Faz, I'm just going to say, when you say I underestimated Sarr, can I just make a point? You banged on about Sarr for 2 years. None of our managers played him for 2 years. How was I meant to not underestimate a player that wasn't getting any game time from the managers? Do you know what I mean, Goonie? If for 2 seasons, no one started this guy, now it's, oh, you underestimated him. Hang on. He's only had 2 starts in the Premier League in a row. And now everyone, this is what we do. Unfortunately, what we do is we're going to have fans like Faz. He's not the brightest. Bless you. I love you, Faz, but you're not. You do this all the time. A young player comes through and it's, oh my God, they're generational. Why don't we give Sarr a year or 2 in the first team before we start lavishing praise? Why don't we let him have consistency for 15, 20, 30 games before fans like you think he's amazing? It's okay to say you're excited by a player, but when you're saying I underestimated a player that got... Here you go, I'm going to have a look. Sorry. I've got to have a look. Right. Papa Sarr, right? Let's see. Last year, I underestimated Papa Sarr. Here he is. Papa Sarr. Here we go. So, in the last 2 seasons at Tottenham, he's made 14 appearances and made 2 starts. Right? But I underestimated him. Don't you mean that Antonio Conte underestimated him? Nuno underestimated him. Ryan Mason underestimated him. I can't judge a player I don't see play. Just putting it out there. Goonie, what do you make of football fans these days? We're very quick to say a player is brilliant when they've only played a few games. We're also very quick to knock them after that first few games turns out to be just the first few games. Do you know what I mean? What do you make of how knee-jerk we all are these days?
Well, this is the era that we're living in, bro. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest, because I see some of the craziest comparisons. Do you know what I mean? Like there's players that have no right being compared to other players that have played in the past. Right. Like I'll give you a case in point. There are people that tell me with a straight face, respectfully, Harry Kane is a world-class player, elite striker, 100%. But there's people telling me that he's better than R9. And they're actually saying it with a straight face. So when I hear calls like this, so you can imagine. So for me, when I hear these kind of calls, they're really like the tip of the iceberg, because like, this is why I'm not surprised. So sometimes I hear this kind of stuff and I ignore it. But with young players, I think a lot of it is also to do with wishful thinking, because, we are, as fans, let's have it right. We are desperate for silverware. We really want to win it. And if you ain't won it for a long time, you're going to take something and run with it. And there's also the bias factor of being a fan as well. These are things that factor into these players. But where it's dangerous is when they don't reach that expectation, and then that expectation of yours turns into the social media trolling on that player and all of that kind of stuff. That's when things can start to backfire, which is why, personally, I'm very, very careful about which players that I label as, he's young, but he's ready to come and step in and definitely do a job. You have to be careful in this era. Do you know what I mean? But that's what it is.
But people don't learn, Goonie. Like, we'll do it with a player, we won't learn, and then we'll do it with the next one. Let's give some examples. From a Spurs perspective, Dele Alli, look what happened to him. You just never know. You never know what's going to happen with a player, right? Now, at least Dele Alli had a few good seasons, right? And then you look at players like, if I look at Papa Sarr, for example, Papa Sarr's 20 years of age. He's made three Premier League starts for Spurs, one of which was last season, unfortunately, which was the Newcastle game where they battered us with 5 or 6-1 or whatever they battered us with. And he's made 2 starts this season. And I'm seeing people going, if this boy stays fit, he's the new Vieira. Like to your point just now, he's the new Vieira. He's the new Desai. It's like, whoa, hang on. Where are we getting that from? Like, why are we trying to put so much pressure on young players that it is unreal? Why are they not allowed to have a season to make mistakes, to have good games, to have bad games? Why has everyone got to be generational or shit? Why is there's never
a grey area.
an in-between, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like that Faz, he's a nice guy, but if a player like that, for example, Brennan Johnson will have a good game in his first 3 or 4 games, he'll score a goal and people will go, there you go, you're in the mud. Hang on. Football's not based over 3 or 4 games.
It's not, yeah.
Football's based over a long period of time. And we did this. Skippy scored a couple of goals in pre-season against Barcelona. Everyone going, oh, look at him already under Postecoglou. Plays against Fulham the other night. One of the worst players on the pitch. Like, we get hyped up so easily, don't we? It's mad.
No, we do. And, you know, me and you, we come from an era of, you know, back in when I felt the Premier League was at its best, when Fergie and your Chelseas and all that was about, like the real ones. When young players were coming in. Do you remember when Cristiano Ronaldo came into Manchester United?
Yeah.
He didn't kick on straight away.
No.
And the thing is the only reason why the fans sometimes got on Ronaldo's back was when he would make the blatant stupid mistakes that you do as a youngster. One step over too many, a little bit too much of the showboating. We know you're talented, but you're not there yet. We've got the patience for you. You see what I'm saying? We come from that era. We come from that time of when we're seeing your Joe Coles and all these guys coming up, but you can see the potential, but you was patient enough to wait. But now I don't know. I don't know where the shift came, bruv. Now, as soon as a player, I think some of it's come down to social media. We have to have it right because listen, it's like you're saying, Brennan Johnson will come in. He might have a game where the first game he might score 2 goals. As soon as that game's done, on YouTube, on Twitter, there'll be a compilation of this player that will magnify the brilliant things that he's done in the game and negate everything negative he's done in the game as well. So this is how these pictures and expectations also build.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, Kuva, listen, this is what I mean. Tony Bones said only 4 games played and everyone has a concrete opinion. Just enjoy the ride. Listen, I agree with that. Kuva, when you're saying I'm going to stick up for Faz, it's good to hear an opposite opinion. But listen, when somebody's opinion is that a player is generational after they've played 2 or 3 first-team games for the football club, I don't know how that's taken seriously. Like, how many players have we done this with? I heard Stuart Downing was going to be the next big thing in English football, right? Aaron Lennon was going to be the next big thing.
Jonathan Woodgate, although he was a very good player, but yeah.
Even a player like that went on to play for Madrid. You look at Sean Wright-Phillips, read it with him, Scotty Parker, Sidwell, Jack Rodwell, all these players that come through, everyone immediately, Franny Jeffers, they are the next big thing. How many of them actually turn out to be the next big thing? But fans want to put them from there to there after a few games. Top players who become world class, they hone their skill set and then they get to the point where they're undroppable and then they do it game in, game out, year in, year out. Year in, year out.
Yep.
The biggest example I can give you, Goonie, is Kulusevski. Kulusevski joined Tottenham, and for the first 3.5 months he played for Spurs, at the end of that season, he looked really good.
Yeah.
Last year, terrible year. This year, meh, he still looks okay, like nothing special.
How old is Kulusevski?
23, maybe?
23. So he's not even 25 yet.
No.
So this is the thing is, we never take this into context. Youngsters, they're unpredictable. You can see the talent, But this is why you need space for them to develop, because what they're developing is two things. They're developing consistency,
Right.
and then they're also developing their ability as it goes before it reaches that stagnant point. You know what I'm saying? So it's
But
that's the
maturity
key.
as well, Goonie.
Maturity as well,
like,
exactly.
You mature. Like, listen, I think Papa Sarr, when he's played, he's got some really good things about him. He looks really, really good. I've also seen there's been a lot of the time in the games where he gives the ball away quite a lot, but he's 20 years of age, right? Like, I wouldn't expect. Look, if we're talking about Erling Haaland's, you're right. If we're talking about Lionel Messi's and Ronaldo's, yeah, you're talking about a different breed.
But Savva, let's talk about that though. Let's talk about
Go
that.
on.
Let me stop you there, because now this is a very good point here I'm about to make. When we're talking generational,
if you do
players,
say so yourself, Goonie.
no, I have to say this. I've got to say this one. When you see generational players, you know they're generational as soon as they touch the pitch. Messi,
Sure.
from day one we saw him, said, yeah, this guy is definitely that guy. Ronaldinho, the second that you saw him touch pitch, yeah, this guy is definitely that guy. Yeah, there's some players when they come on and they're doing this week in, week. Erling Haaland was another one. First time I saw him at Salzburg, I said, this guy here is going to be a generational striker, 100%.
Yeah.
Kaka as well. When you saw Kaka coming through, Savva, what did you think immediately when you saw him at AC Milan? You knew it, bro.
Yeah. Listen, those people, I get it, right?
That's
people
generational, though.
Wow.
That's the definition of generational.
Right.
The standards today have dropped massively. Because you look at these guys, bro, you look at Manuel Neuer. Brother, when this guy played football, you was like, what the hell is going on here? Where did Schalke find this guy? Sir Alex Ferguson is coming off his seat after a game, shaking this man's hand and saying, bro, I need you at Manchester United. Big man thing. I don't care what it takes. What's it going to take for you to come here? These are generational players, bro.
Do you know, I think that the problem is, Goonie, right? I think people mistake, like, listen, do I think Sarr could be a top player one day? Sure. He's got the skill set to do it. Has he got the mentality? Has he got the drive? Has he got the manager to do it? We'll find out. But I think people mistake me saying that and saying, let's see what happens. And my favorite word two favorite words in football, Goonie, are context and consistency.
Yes.
But because I'm willing to wait for the consistency, people go, what will happen is, like that guy Faz, what he'll do is, if Sarr does become amazing in 2-3 years, you're in the mud. I'm not in the mud. Let him get there. Let the players get there before you put them in the... So many young players. Gaza, when he burst onto the scene, I don't know, it depends on people's ages. When Gaza burst onto that scene for Newcastle all those years ago, people went, oh yeah, you're different. You're it. You have
exactly.
I don't know what it is, but you've got it, right? Gaza, Joe Cole at 16 playing for West Ham had it, right? First team at 16, 17 playing week in, week out. Papa Sarr, for me, really good player. Looks good. Looks like he's got all the attributes. But can we wait for them to get there? Like, I always have this debate, and the people in my chat will know this, about calling people world-class, Goonie. Yeah. Everyone these days is called world class when they have a good year or a good few months. No, if you're world class, you do it year in, year out without failure. Yeah.
Like those names that we were just talking about. Those guys, they rarely dropped anything below a 7 out of 10. Rarely. And if they did, it's because they were injured or they had a flu or something. And because they were that good, the manager said, I don't care if you're recovering from a flu, you got to play today. You get me? That's what we're talking here.
Yeah, big up people saying Hoiberg rejecting Atleti. I mean, I can't imagine he's going to reject Atletico Madrid when he's not in the...
That's not true.
When he's in the Spurs lineup. Yeah, listen, I'm just a big fan of... I've seen, and by the way, Jeff, hang on, let's bring up. Sorry, we'll go back to that conversation in a second. Spurs are in the news a lot today, as you can imagine. And there you go. Fabrizio Romano has announced that official confirmed that Japhet Tanganga has left Tottenham to join Hoiberg on a loan deal with a 6 million loan fee. So Daniel Levy will love that. That's 6 million profit from a youth graduate. Our youth our youth players go for 6 million on loan. Your youth players go for about 40, 50 million pound a pop. Also, Fabrizio Romano has said, there we go, that Bournemouth, Sam, who was just on here, have reached a verbal agreement to sign Luis Sinisterra from Leeds. Here we go. Good deal for Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I think, look, for me, I don't know how old you are, Goonie. I know how old I am, right? But
I'm 34. I don't mind saying it. Yeah.
I'm 40 years of age, right? In all my time as a football fan, I have seen so many players called world-class, generational. They're the next Gaza, the next Messi, the next Vieira, the next Desailly, right? And hardly any of them, maybe 1% of them, live up to the expectation that the fans set for them at the outset. And that is the problem. No one now wants to give anyone any time. Look at Lewis Colwill. Lewis Colwill is Lewis, isn't it? Yeah. Look,
Levi.
Lewis. Where am I getting Lewis for? I'm thinking Lewis Hall. Sorry.
Lewis Hall,
Levi
yeah.
Colwill. Like, straight away, price tags being slapped on a bloke that had played, 20 games last season in the Premier League for Brighton. People going 70 million. Fans going, this boy's world class. He's going to be. It's like, whoa, can you give him some time? Can he have a season in the Chelsea first team to kind of settle in and grow? And we don't want to do it. No one wants to do it anymore, mate. They're all world class.
What do you think of this, Savva? I've got a question for you.
Go for it.
Do you think it's right to call a player world class when they've never played Champions League football? When they've never played at the top of the top, the creme de la creme?
Like who? Is there any examples of this?
I'll give you an example. And please don't get it twisted, chat, because you might go mad. I really think this player I think he's a super player. Right. But Bukayo Saka, the reason why I bring this up is because when you look at his peers, like your Vinicius and these guys, they've gone up against the best of the best fullbacks in the most pressure pot situations, and they've delivered. They have earned that title as the world-class player that they are, because they've been there, they've done it, they've competed in the biggest and the best of the competitions. I'm not saying that the Premier League is, but the Champions League, after some stage, is the elites of Europe. And if you haven't played in it and you haven't performed, how can you show me for real that you're world class? The same logic would apply to some of my players as well, not just Saka.
I would look at it like this. That if we're going to talk about Bukayo Saka, and by the way, keep liking people. Smash that like button. There's still 655 of you in here, which is great numbers. We've been going for a few hours now. Only 390 likes. Smash that like button. And come on, guys and girls, we should get this to 10,700 in seconds. 7 away from 10,700. Come on, people. The link is in the chat. Look, I would say this. I think Bukayo Saka's a talented boy. I think he's a very good footballer. For me, I think he's just shy of being world class. I think that the boy needs to keep going. I think he's the next run below world class for me. I think that he needs to do it on the major stage, to answer your question. I think that he needs to turn up in some of those bigger games, like the back end of last season when Arsenal started to have some dips. That is when you look at your world-class players and go, right, dig me out. And this is the thing that's always been aimed at players like Saka, like Harry Kane, right? Is cool. People want to put you on that pedestal. Players are going to be judged on that pedestal. And this is the difficulty, right? Bringing this back, and we'll continue with your question, but bringing this back to when people want to put people in this generational talent. If you're generational, then every game you don't have a bad game, people are going to pull you apart because fans want to put you on a pedestal. I don't do that. For me, I would say, you know what, Sarr, we're using that. Sarr, good game today. God, he looks talented. Yeah, didn't have a great game today, but you know what? He's young. He's learning. You're not going to have consistency. And this is the problem. This is the problem. But Saka, not for me. Not world class. Not for me.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, that's really in today's game, because you don't really see as many of those blatantly special players as you used to back in the day. At least that's my opinion. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And but now my barometer is, how are you competing when you reach this stage of football, because everything changes at that point. The stakes are very much higher. The room for error is very much smaller. Because remember, case in point, strikers in these big games, these big games, remember, these guys get very few and far between chances. Very few and far between chances. Now, I'll tell you with Erling Haaland, why he's world class. If he's only got 2 sniffs on goal in the Champions League final, how many of those do you think are going in?
At least one.
There you go. You see what I'm saying?
See,
This is
when you look
sorry.
at...
God,
Yeah, go
I don't mean to, but that's the difference. Hernan Crespo, do you remember, although they didn't win that Champions League final, how many opportunities did that man have on goal and how many did he take? That guy had 1 clear chance on goal, if you want to call it that, and go and look back at that goal he scored when he chipped the keeper. Stupid goal. That's world class, bro.
Listen, I completely agree with you, and thank you. We're now only 4 away from 10,700. I think the thing is as well, when you look at a player like Haaland, who's only 22, you just look, whatever level of football he's played at, he's smashed the living daylight out of it. And he's done it consistently. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, Champions League, Premier League, international stage, Bundesliga. This guy just every year performs game in, game out. People go, oh, but sometimes he only has 8 touches in a game. So when you're scoring 60 goals a season, why does it matter how many touches you have in a game, right? So, look, I think there are freaks of nature. I think Erling Haaland is one of them at the age of 22.
100%.
For me, I think I look at a player like Jude Bellingham and I go, you are different class. You look already gone to Madrid, stepping into it like a, like stepping in like a glove that fits the hand. He's just gone straight in. Yeah, I'm here. Doesn't need to worry about, But in England, I think we're very good at doing this to so many young players. So like somebody has 10 good games and everyone wants them to have an England call-up. What happens back in the day? You had to do it year in, year out. Back in the day, strikers that were scoring 30 goals a season, like Fowler, Ferdinand, Andy Cole, they weren't making England squads because you had Sheringham, you had Shearer, you had Owen, you had Dion Dublin, you had Cole, Fowler, Ferdinand, Sutton. You had so much competition. Now we go, oh my God, he's world class. Why? Why do we have to make everyone world class? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I always like the world class conversation. I have it a lot purely because I'm really tough to please, Goonie, and I don't make any apologies about that. Not in normal life. I'm happy. Just give me a box set and a tub of. I've got some new favorite ice cream. Completely nothing to do with anything. Do you eat Tony Chocolonely chocolate?
I'm actually lactose intolerant, so
man.
It's tragic,
this won't
mean
anything to you. This won't mean anything to you. Anyway, give me a tub of ice cream and a box set. Yeah. Let my puppies sit in and around me. That's not a euphemism. I've got 2 puppies. Right. I'm cool. Get me to football. No. Right. I'm not. I've seen top players, and I've said this for years. I look across the world now, and the standard of footballers now compared to when I was growing up or the 25, 30 years after I was born, the standard isn't there anymore.
It's not there no more. And that's what I was going to say. Like, we come from an era where we've seen some of the best in history, bro. When I hear Van Dijk is the best centre-back to ever play in the Premier League, he's not even the best Dutch centre-back to play in the Premier League. You can't talk to Jaap Stam. He's not talking to Jaap Stam, bro.
I absolutely. Listen, I completely agree with you. Look, I grew up watching. I mean, look, I was born the beginning of the 80s, and I went to my first Spurs game in like 1984. Don't really remember it, but I remember the buzz, and for the years after that being taken, watched people like Hoddle and Waddle and Gaza, Lineker and Ginola, Sheringham. So when people say things to me now like this player's world class or this player's generational, and I'm going,
you ain't
nah.
seen these guys.
Like Kulu, I always get told off. I look at Kulu and I go, yeah, you're a good footballer. But apparently now, Goonie, you're not allowed to be good. You're either shit or you're world class.
Well, you're world class.
Right? Kulu's a good footballer. I look at all the players I've seen growing up at Tottenham and I go, yeah, he's not a patch on any of the top players I've seen play for Tottenham. He's a good player. But what we do is we go, yeah, but if you break down the stats of all the players from the 1980s and 90s, forget that. Forget that. No one needed stats in the 80s and 90s and 90s.
Zidane scored, watch this, Zidane scored 8 goals this season. Is he shit?
Crap. Yeah, crap. Yeah. Did you see Shearer last year on Match of the Day, one of the Match of the Days, they were bringing up all these stats about running and pressing. It was one of the forwards and high presses and this and blocks that led to a chance and all this nonsense. And Alan Shearer turned around and said, I'm the top Premier League goal scorer of all time, right? He said, if they had done all these stats on me, I would have been bottom of all of them. He went, but I could score goals. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, The man put the ball in the net. But nowadays, we want to judge people by, oh my God, he created the most big chances in a game. All right. Oh my God, he made the most blocks. All right, he's a defender. Cool. Yeah, you're a defender. Go and make your blocks.
Exactly.
He covered the most ground. All right, but back in the day, centre mids just did that for fun. They weren't audited. Like when I was growing up watching Spurs, and I'd see like Paul Stewart in centre mid and Samways and David Howes. These people just ran and ran and ran.
It was your job.
No one was clocking them for. Oh my God, you ran 9.9 kilometers in the first. No one was clocking that. You just got on with it. Just madness, man. Just madness.
Yeah. If you didn't do those things, it was long for you back then. Completely different era. These kids couldn't play back then because the discipline was just next level over there.
Absolutely. No, this is the point. Yeah, again, see, this is the thing. By the way, in my shows, Goonie, I do have a lot of interaction with my comments. Gets me in trouble, but I like to, right?
That's cool.
I don't think anyone's forgetting he's 22. This is lending itself to my point. There's nothing saying he has to be world class now. He's 22. If you're on a trajectory and you're going like that each season, yeah, cool. At some point, keep going, you get there.
He's going to get there.
The problem is some players peak really quickly. Then the year after, they go like that. And then they might, they're not world-class players. You've got to keep going. And I don't think there's many in the Premier League. I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't think there's hardly any in the Premier League or in the world right now. I know that's a hot take. Who's world-class? Go on, Premier League. Who's world-class in the Premier League? Truly world-class.
Haaland.
I would go with Rodri.
Yeah, De Bruyne as well.
De Bruyne. Would we say Ruben Diaz is world class?
Not for me.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Alisson in goal, world class.
Salah. You
see what I mean? Like you see what I mean now. Mm-hmm. Look around all these clubs now. Look at Liverpool. Tell me in their squad who's world class outside of Mo Salah.
Mo Salah and Alisson is really it.
Right. Okay. Now Chelsea. How many world class players you got now?
We sold them.
Right. Okay. Now look at Man United. How many world class players have Man United got?
There's a case for Casemiro.
There's definitely a case for him. Obviously getting on a bit now, but definitely a case for him. There would have been a case a few years back for Thiago Silva of Chelsea.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Now Newcastle, they got a single world class player in their team.
Not for me.
Not for me. Tottenham. I don't think we've got a world class player in our squad.
Not anymore. No.
Brighton.
Not for me.
Right. This is what I mean. But what people always go to me, there's loads of world class players. I could do this for all the leagues. I don't think there's many anymore.
Yeah. That's it. Even when you look at Real Madrid, who could you say at Real Madrid is legitimately world class? I'd say Courtois.
Yeah, Courtois is without a doubt a world class goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I would say even now, Luka Modric is
100%.
I think he'll be world class when he's 80. That man he just makes football look.
Yeah, 100%. He's a freak of nature as well, man. Luka Modric. He's so good at football, man.
Vinicius Jr. There's an interesting one. Is Vinicius Junior world class? There we go.
Do you know what? Because he's done it at the highest level, yes, I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to him. Because if I'm not calling him world class, then I'm putting him at that level where Saka and them man are, and I can't do that. I can't do that in good faith. I can't.
There we go. Just quickly, mate, Fab. Look, honestly, Spurs can't get rid of absolutely anybody. At current conditions of Atletico Madrid opening verbal bid for Pierre Hoiberg, the deal will not happen. It's not enough to convince Spurs. I'd love to know what they're offering, because this time next year, he's got 1 year left on his contract, Goonie.
That's not good business from you guys, but it depends. We don't know what the offer was. We don't know what they offered. That's the thing.
I'd love to know. But the thing is, we turned down 15 million for Davinson Sanchez, who's got 1 year left and isn't wanted by, I don't think, any fan at this football club. Listen, I must get some super chats. I don't know how long you got left, Goonie, so I don't want to keep you longer than...
Probably about 5 minutes, to be honest. I've kind of gone over time as well, but yeah, 5 minutes.
Sure. Listen, I'll let 20 past 10. 4 minutes will go. Guys and girls, I'll go for another 10, 15 minutes after that. We are 2 subscribers away from 10,700. Just 2 of you. Come on. That's all we need. The link is in the chat. Some of the super chats we'll go to. Big up to John Gotti. Isn't John Gotti one of the most famous mafia crime bosses?
He is.
Yeah, is that who did John Travolta play him?
Yeah,
right.
He did, yeah.
Big up. Listen, man, if you've got all that cash in your picture, come on, you can chuck more than the £5. Come on, man. There's loads of money waiting. Big up. Oh, hang on, he has. And he's got him with another cheeky little band. Thank you so much, John Gotti. I love some of the names. Big up to you. Colin Biggs. Colin Biggs. Wasn't Colin Biggs... I might be making this up. Is that the name of the great train robber?
I don't know. Possibly. I don't know.
Someone in the chat will let me know. I feel like it's something like that. Anyway, Colin has become a YouTube member. Big up to you, Colin. It's Ronnie Biggs. It was Ronnie Biggs, wasn't it?
Ronnie Biggs, yeah.
Big up to you. I'm not sure if you're related to the great train robber. Let us know. I'd love to hear about how he did it. YouTube member only shows will take place. We'll have one not next week, the week after, and there'll be YouTube only conversations in the community section. So big up to you, Colin, and welcome to Football Heritage TV family. Shivraj, big up to you, my man. Hope you're well. I said, give Brennan a chance. Yeah, I've said that. Yeah, there's nothing I can do. I also believe Richarlison. No, you've lost me. You've lost me. Brennan, sure. I also believe Richarlison will be good going forward. Based on what? Like, what are we basing this on? But big up, Shivraj. Much love to you, man. Will Stewart, big up, Will. Hope you are well. Has said, and I can't agree more, Saka hasn't even put the numbers of Dele Alli in his first 2 seasons, and we're already talking about world class. I agree with you. The problem is everyone just gets on this bandwagon. Like, for me, Saka, if Saka's world class at the back end of last season, when you're tired and you need to dig deep and your team needs you desperately, that's when the world class players turn up. And unfortunately didn't. Big up, Will. Thanks for that, man. Listen, I completely agree with you on that. We don't agree on everything, which I think is good, but we agree on that one, mate. Listen, Goonie, I'm going to let you go. I know you need to go. Thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed your company for the last hour and a half or so.
This is actually the longest stream I've ever done, and I enjoyed every minute of it, man. So big up yourself, man. Thank you for having me on this long. But yeah, man, big up the chat as well. Man Knows Football is where you'll find me. Make sure you subscribe. Peace out, people. And as always,
could someone put it in the chat? Could one of the mods, if there's any mods in here, could someone find Goonie's Man Knows Football? Please go and subscribe. Goonie is one of the good ones. And look forward to your last 4 signings of the window in the next 6 hours, Goonie, or whatever it is. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, man. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we get some surprises for Chelsea, man. Yeah, man. Gareth Southgate out. Peace.
Yes. See you later, man. See you later. Big up to Goonie. I really got a lot of time for Goonie. A really good creator. Chilled out. Serge Reguilon has signed for Man United, as we said. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that's coming through. Any news for Spurs? Somebody's put on. I've just seen this. Wow. So Aaron J, you've said that. Somebody else has also sent me, look, this like deadline day, Sado Berahino. God, who remembers that one? See, we've been crap in transfer windows for years. It's not just now. So we can't get rid of Sanchez. We can't get rid of Hoiberg. We can't get rid of Dyer. We can't get rid of Lloris. We can't get rid of Ndombele or Hill or Sessegnon. We are stuck with them all, people. What do we do now? What do we do? What do we do? I just don't know. Yeah, big up Kuva. Yeah, Goonie does talk a good game. Guys and girls, I will go for another 25 minutes, half an hour possibly, and then I'm back on at 6 with Sean and Henry, and we're going 6 o'clock right the way through to midnight, which means my wife won't get to see me again. She's probably really happy about that. She gets to watch whatever box set she wants without me annoying her or talking to her about Tottenham or football. Yeah, it was Ronnie Biggs. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. Yeah, I thought it was Ronnie Biggs. But big up. Guys, what do we do? What do we do, people? Why can't we get rid of any of these players? Why can't we get rid of any of these players? No, he's got to go. He's got to go. We've got to. Just means we can't get new players in, and we're stuck with the same players time and time and time again. But hey, it is what it is. Get any questions in you've got, and we'll go through some questions if you like. The chat, we put out a poll of, are you ENIC in or ENIC out? Now, ENIC in, ENIC out. 444 people have liked it and voted. There are 16% not fussed, 75%, 76% now out, and 9% in. 9% in. Wash your mouths out, you 9%. You have the club that you want. Gary Beck said, at Football Heritage, here's a question. Is there a bigger beneficiary of Dele's drop-off than Mason Mount? Would he ever have played for England if Dele had maintained? Wow, that's an interesting point. Another very overrated footballer, Mason Mount. Yeah, quite possibly you're right. Quite possibly you're right. Yeah, I mean, I give up. I really give up. We just constantly want these poor players. Big up, Pete. I said, Leandro Demau, here we go. Who remembers that one? Who remembers that one? Leandro Demau. Absolutely crazy. Shivraj just says, Savva, thank you for what you do. Mate, I don't do anything. I just come on here, talk football, try and get as many comments as going as possible, get called a CUNT a few times a day, take a couple of death threats, and then I go to bed. Then we wake up the next day and we do it all again. So big up to Shivraj and a big up to Pete. Thank you so much, people. It is much appreciated. Any questions, get them in, or we will end the show in a couple of minutes and be back for the debates with me, Sean and Henry. You know Sean and I will kick off. You know we will, and you know it's all love. One and only has said, anyone ENIC in, they need their head a proper wobble. Genuinely low IQ. Colin Biggs said, we got our Tottenham back. Vince has said, Savva, do we have a good 11 or a good 9? I'm thinking 9. Richie, I trade for Henry, and Vic is up in the air. I think we've got a good 10. I like the car. I don't think he's done anything wrong. Richarlison, for me, is one of the worst strikers I've seen at Tottenham. I can't keep saying it. And every time he scores a goal, people go, you're in the mud. Nah, his all-round game is absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Kuva in the house has said, remember when we said weeks ago that we needed to appreciate Maddison and VDV because there wouldn't be much else happening. I just can't believe that the only thing we're going to see today is Brennan Johnson. No centre-back. It is truly worrying. No goal scorer, no centre-back. Truly worried. I really am truly worried about this football club. Tanguy is bone idle, but he's not stupid. Yeah, I mean, he's on 200 grand a week. We peaked early this window. Did it last window as well. After this transfer window will come out, we tried to sign Messi with 4 minutes left. God, I'd give anything to see Lionel Messi in a Spurs shirt, even if it was for 4 minutes. I'd give absolutely anything. Guys and girls, I am going to end the show at past, so I can give myself an hour and a half break before the mammoth 6 hours with me, Sean, and Henry. As I said, it will be Sean's channel 6 till 8, my channel 8 till 10, and Henry's channel 10 till 12. So please tune in for that, and hopefully something happens. It's got to happen, right? The worst player we've ever signed, Richarlison and Ndombele are right up there for me. In terms of how much we paid, they're right up there. From my team, who do you think is world class? No one. I don't think you've got a single world class player. I think Saliba will be in the future. I think another one, give him time. Other than that, I don't think you've got a world-class player. I think world-class is thrown around way too easily. Not for me. Who do you think is world-class from Arsenal? This will be a good conversation. Yeah, Henry Wright TV, not the French bloke. No, we haven't got Thierry Henry. Listen, all us YouTubers might be millionaires, but we haven't quite got the money for Henry. Tongue-in-cheek, we're not millionaires. Hang on, someone sent me Atletico Madrid and Tottenham are currently negotiating to reach an agreement on the loan with an obligation to buy. I mean, Jesus, how long can it take? How bad can it be? Just get him out, get someone new in. Hey, Savva, have you seen the tweet from James Percy? Someone's just sent it to me. I was just reading it. Johnson played in Forest game against Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. Tottenham stated a detailed presentation in front of Johnson outlining how leaving impossible. Yeah, I don't believe a word of it. Yeah, sorry, I don't believe a word in it. Chris Cowlin to Daniel Levy's office. Here we go, confirmed. Oh God, he loves him, doesn't he? Loves, but you wouldn't bite the hand that feeds you, would you? Gary Bexer said no one is Enoch-in, but you need a proper buyer, and they don't grow on trees. There are Enoch-in people. Be rest assured, there are Enoch-in. This is not true. If you keep doing this, I will block you. I will block you. Stop doing this. I will block you. You've got right. You've got one more chance. Right, one more chance. If I see one more, you're gonna go. You're gonna go. Right. Big up. Listen, everybody. I am gonna leave it there. And I will be back. Hang on. I just want to see if Angus. No. How can you be world class after one top year? Again, you Arsenal fans, you do this so much. Angus, this is embarrassing, mate. I like you. You're a great guy. But how on earth is this guy? He's not world class yet. Listen, I'm going to leave it there. We'll see you at 6 o'clock on Sean's channel. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for all the channel members. Much love. Really appreciate it. And as always, come on, you Spurs, and see you on Sean's channel at 6 o'clock. Goodbye.